Warning, this podcast contains mature themes and coarse language. The hosts frequently employ humor to offset the serious and occasionally upsetting material. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome back to the dark side. I'm Brianna.
And I'm DYSON.
And this is episode 80. It's 80.
It is 80.
Of our show. I don't know what it's called. It's Dyson's episode.
It's called the Black Monk of Pontefract.
Oh, shit.
Oh, shit. Let's go. Welcome to my episode.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You're lucky to be here.
I'm lucky to be here.
Yeah.
Probably a little happy to be here. I'm really happy that I get to just sit back and rest my instrument because I just did Missing Murder Mysterious number 11 and I did a lot of talking and it was a lot of work and we had technical issues and also it's really hot in here and I have swamp ass and I'm ready.
Jesus Christ. Oh. Well, all right. Well, you know what?
Hi, my name's Brianna and I overshare. I don't actually have swamp ass, by the way. Like, I'm just trying to be funny. Like, a girl just likes to be funny.
Yeah, she's pretty funny. I like her.
Like, sometimes. like, I'm pretty much okay.
Well, okay. I'm glad you're here. And like I said at the start, we're jumping into a ghost story.
Oh, I love a ghost story.
Called The Black Monk of Pontefract. And I got hangups with the name, okay? But that's how everybody knows it. That's how I'm going to call it. That's what the title is going to be. And, you'll see why. And you're going to get a pretty good perspective about not just the story of the Black Monk of Pontefract, but a lot of the stuff around it. So you're going to really like this. Shut your mouth, sit your ass fucking down right now. Hold the flashlight right, okay? Yeah. And also, I love you. Let's jump into it.
Sit that ass down no matter how fucking swampy it is.
Hit it! The story of the Black Monk of Pontefract and its ruthless haunting of the Pritchard family is one that captured the interest of locals in the 1960s and eventually the entirety of the UK. Reports of furniture being thrown, strange noises, and sightings of dark, menacing figures of a black Cluniac monk gripped the public's imagination. In time, paranormal investigators flocked to the site, eager to witness the supernatural occurrences firsthand. The Pritchard family's plight was chronicled in newspapers and on television, making the ordeal one of the most infamous hauntings in British history, and earning it the title of the world's most violent haunting.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Violent? Because I'm like, in my head, I can... Pontefract! In my head, I'm like, okay, yeah, getting like Enfield poltergeist vibes, Popper the poltergeist, and then you're like, the most violent, and I'm like, okay, spooky, ooky.
Yeah, he's a bit of a douche, and I do call him out on that.
He's a bit of a douche.
But here's the thing. The true story of what occurred in 30 East Drive, like all good ghost stories, and seldom known to those keeping tabs on the haunting through papers and tabloids, starts long before.
Of course, we must go back in time, dear.
Gregory, can you please play my music? The year is 1644, in what's now the district of Chesterfield in Westshire, England. Scratch that, it's West Yorkshire, England.
West Yorkshire.
They also didn't know how to read at the time.
No, they weren't allowed to because the church took everyone's reading material.
So anyway, let's set the scene. A black mist is rolling over the grassy, wide-open landscape of the surrounding Pontefract Castle. Built with a resilient stone curtain wall and a whopping 10 internal towers of some 5 stories in height, this stronghold of the monarchy looms over the rolling fields from atop a hill. It's very regal, honey.
It sounds beautiful and the perfect place for snipers, dear.
Absolutely. Now let's go inside its walls, where the commoners and aristocrats alike are partaking in lavish pleasures of the time.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about Haya Kumana Gatari Kaiden Kai. Sorry.
I would be so upset if that came up.
Playing a parlor game, dear. But that is interesting. Commoners and aristocrats alike.
No, well, these guys liked, they like food. They like gorging themselves on delectable local delicacies of, whatever they could find, really, honestly, with, like, desperately dwindling food supplies growing scarcer by the day.
Oh, that's horrifying. There's, like, hunter-gatherers out there just trying their damnedest.
Yeah, and they made up for it. They had entertainment. You, best believe they're bopping to absolute bangers like, When the King Enjoys His Own Again.
I know that one.
Do you?
Yeah, it's a knee slapper.
Oh, good. All right. How's it go?
Those are spoons, and it goes, I already forget the title of the song. What was the title? I don't know. We can't read. We're not allowed to read. We don't know the song.
That's pretty close. And, that was a folk song favorite at the time. And,
folks, I knew it. Knee slappers.
And they also love more sophisticated pieces like La Charonne by your boy and absolute goat composer, Orlando Gibbons.
Gibbons?
Gibbons.
Okay.
Or at least, they'd like to try to listen to music whenever they could, since the elaborate halls of England's established churches, theaters, and royal courts, which were once major patrons of new music, they fell silent, giving way to the boisterous sound of sword clashes and cannon fire.
Oh, shocking. Did I say that the church ruins everything? I think I did.
Well, it's, they had other favorite activities of the time, including cursing the father of democracy, Oliver Cromwell, and his army of parliamentarians outside of their gates for seeking to overthrow their monarchy. So, they fuck that guy. That was fun for them to say.
Yeah, but Dyson, you're not supposed to write your hobbies in here.
That's true. Well, here's one for you. Tossing people into dungeons some 35 feet beneath the castle.
35? Novice numbers.
Yeah, those are amateur numbers. You gotta get those up. And, they loved getting spit roasted.
Hot.
By spikes.
Oh.
But they look damn good doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then in the background, the ambient sword clashing. It was like, hot. Yeah, I'm using an imaginary napkin to dab my imaginary sweat on my forehead.
Now, if the walls of Pontefract Castle could talk, they'd spin a tale of bloody battles, long gruesome sieges, and starvation. England was in the throes of its first civil war, which, guys, crack on.
Crack on, yeah, little peppercorns.
And the battle, and the battle was raging at its doorstep. So, it's in these blood-soaked fields on the outskirts of the castle that we sow the tale of the ghostly story, because it is here where the unassuming, semi-detached house of 30 East Drive currently sits.
Ew, in blood-soaked soil?
Blood-soaked soil.
Wow.
Now, houses on Chequerfield Estate were post-war houses, built in the early 1950s. So if you've got whiplash, grab your neck, grab a neck guard or something, because,
that's the 50s, get an ascot.
Yeah, now we're in the 50s, okay? 1950s. We're bopping to it. These were council houses, which, from what I understand, are the UK version of public housing for those of us across the pond.
Like subsidized.
Yeah. Looking at it from the outside, it's, by all accounts, quaint. A simple 2-story house with a red brick exterior, cute little garden out back, and an unpainted wooden fence running from the front yard to the back to separate the property. Remember, this is these are shared. So one person's going to get one side of the house, someone else is going to get the other side of the house. You know?
Like a semi-split.
Yeah.
Duplex.
Yeah. And it's also, funnily enough, the absolute antithesis of a brooding, eccentric Gothic estate you'd expect from one of the UK's most haunted houses. You could honestly just drive by and think nothing of it. It's in this quaint little lot that wartime veteran Bill Farrar, along with his wife Barbara and their baby girl Jane, say baby girl, she's 2 by the time they move in.
Still a baby.
Still a baby.
She's just a baby.
They intended to finally move out of their parents' nearby home and settle down. This is also a great spot because these council houses were, also built for war vets, right?
That makes sense.
Basically, thanks for fighting in the war. Here's your house so you can settle down.
Here's your very unassuming nothing special house.
It was like the white picket fence type deal, right?
Oh, okay, that's cute.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Farrar family were the first family to move into 30 East Drive, moving in September 1954, and almost immediately, their dreams of a quaint, quiet little life living in the house at the end of this sleepy little neighborhood block were shattered. Now, council houses don't typically come fully furnished, as you could imagine. It's often up to new residents to set up things like cupboards, decorations, what have you.
Cupboards?
Yeah, even cupboards. That was like, what the fuck? Yeah.
Is it like a British thing where it's not really a cupboard, it's like a little hutch or something, or is it literally like cupboards?
Like a cupboard with like
that's
cups
attached to the
shit.
fucking wall?
Yeah.
What
like with the door hinges and everything.
It couldn't have been like a little gift for the war vet?
Fuck no, but fear not. Bill is something
Fuck no, but fear not.
Yeah. Bill is something of a handyman himself.
Oh.
Yeah. And didn't expect this to pose much of a challenge. So he rolled up his sleeves and got to work. So he started assembling and installing the cupboards and started putting up new layers of wallpaper, started furnishing the new home. Only when Bill left the room and came back, he found the cupboards in complete disarray. Crooked and nowhere near the carefully assembled state he'd left them. He'd fixed them only for the same thing to happen again and again and again. And the wallpaper, too, just would not cooperate.
Ew, it wouldn't stick to the wall.
Yeah, Bill would put up a strip of paper, then start on the second. Just as he was smoothing down the second strip, the first piece would almost mockingly peel itself off the wall and flutter to the ground. No matter what he did, no matter what paste he used, and he used just about every paste he could get his hands on, it just would not stick to the walls.
Just trying to drive him fucking crazy.
It's just tormenting him at that point.
Infuriated.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be like, this is what I get for choosing wallpaper.
Yeah, well, here's the other thing. On top of this, the house was also plagued with heating issues.
No!
Yeah. But it might sound nice for us because heating issues, it was, for us.
Oh, wait, not working. I thought because it's evil that it kept cranking the heat.
Oh, God, that would have been the smart thing to do. But, so the heating's not working, and despite frequent calls to the council management and inspections finding absolutely nothing wrong with the heating whatsoever, this is a coal-heated furnace, basically,
Oh, true,
right?
Yeah.
The house refused to warm up, leaving it with a constant chill. So that's super fucking weird to me, too, because it's coal heated. It's not like, the motor's not running on something.
Yeah, sorry, your baseboard heating isn't working.
Yeah,
it's it's literally coal and it's a small house.
They weren't like, oh, sorry, sir, your nest is acting up. Like, no. This is like, man, I don't know. Principles of fire. You'd think it'd heat up, right? But,
And it's not a giant, huge mansion where you need a fireplace in every room to keep it warm. It's just this little house.
Yeah, it's just a 2-story little house,
Brand new.
Yeah. So once the Farrar family finally settled in, sort of, the strange occurrences continued. Bill, who was now working as a firefighter after the war, was frequently nagging on Barbara for moving his tools. Something she swears she did not fucking do. Bill, All right? Get your shit together. Why don't you go put out a fire for once?
Stop
Can't
starting
even
them, Bill.
start one here. Meanwhile, Barbara herself was growing irritated with the many loose items like cups and objects on the mantelpiece shifting around or just flat out just disappearing.
Oh, that would be annoying.
Yeah, she was also getting this unsettling feeling whenever she was around the coal house, which is a little brick room that you use to store coal to heat the house.
Mm.
Okay, so this
Is it inside the house though?
It's in the house. So it
Ew.
almost looks like you know the room Harry Potter lived in the first movie?
Oh, you mean the cupboard under the stairs?
Yeah, it's like that, except for it would be all brick, no windows whatsoever, no light, and there's no lock on the door, okay?
Okay.
That's it.
But she
And it's
thought
just
someone
filled-
was watching her from there?
She just got this like gross, like unsettling, like something's fucking wrong feeling.
Ew, I
while
don't
hanging
like
out there.
that. I'm scared. I don't want to do this anymore.
Oh, okay. Well, you didn't last very long. It gets way, way, way worse.
Just kidding, I'm so excited.
And all right, so while these were just general sources of confusion and irritation for the family, their concern began to grow for their 2-year-old daughter,
Oh my
who,
god.
normally being an easy and manageable child, was showing constant signs of distress throughout the night.
Not sweet baby Jane.
Sweet baby Jane was not having it. It was basically a nightmare trying to get her to go down, with both Bill and Barbara having to pick her up constantly in the middle of the night, like just
To soothe her and stuff.
just sucks. And I know what you're thinking, right? Like, ooh, wow, fussy toddler, spooky. And that's kind of what I thought as well. Like, I don't give a shit about your parenting troubles. Like, it's this, especially if it's like something as common. Like, you know, I mean, I empathize, sure,
Yeah.
but like, you know, I'm here for the good shit, right?
Not your terrible twos.
Yeah, well, okay. I don't want to call it the good shit anymore after going through this. Normally she's just impossible to go to sleep, but if you brought her over to their parents' house, her grandmother's house,
where they
they were?
lived before.
out like a light
Oh no.
immediately. No crying, no fussing, no wailing, just right to sleep.
She felt safe.
Yeah. This is
Aw.
when the Farrars began to suspect the house was the root of their child's distress.
I mean, at least they finally accepted it when they realized their kid was upset.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
sorry, I just kind of turned into Tina Belcher for a second.
A rather unnerving thing would happen next, that would set the tone for what they were beginning to deal with. On one occasion, Barbara's mom, Nancy, offered to babysit at East 30 Drive, giving Bill and Barbara the opportunity to have the night off and catch a flick at the local cinema.
Hell yeah, it was probably only a nickel.
Probably was, yeah. Or what, a pence or whatever.
Oh, right.
Yeah. That's probably wrong. Anyway,
It's a quid.
when they returned, Nancy was distraught along with their daughter, Jane.
Uh-oh.
Nancy insisted she be taken home right fucking now. But she outright refused to discuss what happened to them.
Oh my god, she's traumatized.
Whatever it was, she would never speak of it.
Never? Not even later in the story?
No,
I have full body chills.
just flat out. Mm-mm.
Ew, look at these goosebumps. Ew, my arm hair's long.
Ew! Their daughter Jane's condition persisted. So, concerned with her state, Barbara placed a call in to the family doctor, a rather reserved man who actually helped deliver Jane. Taking a step into the house, he appeared uncharacteristically unnerved as well, and remarked, "It's like walking into a barn coming into this house."
Fuck? What kind of
Which-
analogy is that?
Yeah, which rude, but you know, not wrong.
Smells like manure in here.
He examined the daughter and, to the surprise of the family, could not find anything wrong with her. His only bit of advice that he could seem to offer was to tire her out, making her sleep easier during the night. You know, taking her outside of the home for more trips. And this was something Barbara was all too eager to jump on. Here's a quote from Bill. She didn't need much encouragement. Barbara was an outgoing, fun-loving girl and used to love going with me on long bicycle rides in the country. Occasionally, we'd go to the theater to see the vaudeville and classic singers. When it when I was working, she would often get on a bus to Castleford and go shopping with Jane or further afield to Leeds for adventures. But 30 East Drive seemed to change all that. I'm going to continue with the quote here. I was spending a lot of time out of the house doing part-time work when off duty from the fire service, which meant that Barbara was often alone in this house. It was around this time that I noticed a marked change in my wife's normally sunny disposition. She seemed to be very unsettled and withdrawn. She would take Jane to her grandmother's more and more often and usually wasn't home when I got back late. Sometimes Barbara would simply stay over at her parents', leaving me alone in the house. She kept finding random excuses for her absence and simply never seemed settled in 30 East Drive. So whatever it is that's upsetting Jane is starting to seep in to other people in the house.
I have a random question. Do you know how long Bill and Barbara were together before this? Like how long they've been together?
They're not probably, I think it was around like 3 or 4 years at this point where they were like, because there was a mention about being a fiance, but they're newlyweds basically. Yeah.
4 years though, and it's the first time you see like such a weird shift in your wife would be really scary.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh.
Yeah.
And then I can understand why she wouldn't want to be alone in the house, especially with the baby.
Yeah.
But then like knowing that you're coming home as Bill, like to an empty house, and you're like, well, I don't really like
and
it
like
here
no
either.
dinner's ready, like it's me cracking my knuckles. That's a 1950s joke.
Time. Do you think
clobbering time?
I was like, Fantastic Four was out in the 50s? Nah, I think it was the 60s.
So if you're like me and tend to feel that young kids or babies tend to have a particularly acute sensitivity to the paranormal, you're not going to like this next part.
Oh, good.
Because it was around this time that Barbara and Bill began to notice little Jane donning mysterious scratch marks and blood along her face.
Blood?
Worried that she may be so stressed out that she's in this house, they fitted her with little mitts so you place on the baby's hand to prevent them from doing any harm to themselves, no scratching or anything. And yet,
she still, yeah.
Despite their Ferraris having no pets and covering Jane's hands, the blood and scratches continue to mysteriously appear on her face.
No.
The fuckery continued when Barbara became pregnant with their second child, Gillian.
Sorry,
I can't see that word without reading it like that.
Gillian.
Unlike her first pregnancy, she became plagued with a series of medical troubles that left her seriously unwell. As a result, she had to visit Dr. Young's office for weekly injections. Yes, I said she had to visit the doctor and not the other way around.
He was scared.
That's because he pretty much, in his last visit, was like, I'm never coming back in this house again.
Also, it's a demon baby. Have fun with Rosemary's Baby.
The couple started to hear strange bumps and noises throughout the house as well. Not the kind of sounds you'd expect from a new home, like creaking or the occasional bump, but rather disembodied voices echoing in the rooms that were empty.
Ew.
On a couple of occasions, milk would spill out of Jane's bottle for apparently no reason. The garden refused to bear absolutely anything.
It's just had berry.
Not flowers or vegetables, despite Bill having a pretty decent green thumb.
Yeah, he does seem like he's a really good housewife.
Yeah.
He's like, I got this, dear. I'll decorate. I'll put up the wallpaper.
He used to help his like dad in the garden, apparently, when he like was like growing up. So yeah, he just couldn't. He couldn't get a single thing to sprout. Nothing would live in that garden.
Infuriating.
Oh, also, razor-like cuts would also appear in the fabric of the settee, which is like a love seat.
Yeah, settee.
In the living room.
That's
Alarmingly,
cool.
the same kind of slash marks that were now appearing on the hood of Jane's pram or carriage.
Like a little buggy, baby buggy.
Little, you know, those little like 1950s buggies with
Oh
in
my
Britain.
God.
So
That's
knife marks,
terrifying.
razor sharp knife marks were coming across on her pram.
Is this what's cutting baby Jane's face?
Maybe, baby. So, anyway, as Kip would put it, I guess you could say things are getting pretty serious. Now, understandably, that was for you, by the way. Barbara fucking hates this house at this point.
Dynamite.
Barbara just fuck this house. Much like her mother, though, she never elaborated publicly as to why, but she made it abundantly clear that this was a shit house to live in. So much so that on one occasion, as Bill made his way back from work, she flat out informed him that they were moving.
That's it. Made up my mind.
Like, no discussion. We're fucking leaving. In fact, it was already sorted out with the council.
Wow.
Yeah, he came home after work, and she's like, "Size, this isn't our house anymore, by the way."
Actually, don't go in there. The locks are changed.
Yeah. Bill, having kind of just, you know, walked into the door after coming off duty from his night shift, was like, okay, fair enough. Could you elaborate a little, please? So Barbara informed him that she ran into a woman called Jean Pritchard at the strip of shops on the estate earlier in the day. So, you know, like...
Strip of shops. Oh.
Yeah, strip of shops.
I heard stripper shops, and I was like, whoa, progressive babs.
I fucking wish. You know how much more fun the research would have been? Research was still fun, but you know.
They went to
strippers.
Vaudeville shows.
Jean was living just down the street at 47 Checkerfield Road with her husband, Joe, and their two kids, Philip, 15, and Diane, who's 12. They both got to talking, and the conversation kind of, you know, gradually she fucking steered it. She totally fucking started. Anyway,
oh my God,
that's opinion.
Sweet baby. Oh yeah, you guys are cute. Anyway, so my house is fucking haunted.
I'm in the camp that I bet she probably fucking steered it in this direction. But, you know, that's not in any actual record or anything. But the conversation, regardless, shifted to they both did not like their houses.
Oh, both of them?
Yeah, both of them were like, you know, and Barbara casually tossed in the idea of, you know, trading places. Jean loved this idea. She was like, oh, fuck yeah. She thought she just struck jackpot fucking gold. 30 East Drive was a bigger house. It had a bigger garden. Not to mention it was at the end of the fucking road. So it's just fucking fantastic. She loved it and happily agreed. So all this to say, dick move, Barbara.
Barbara is a cunt.
Boo, Barbara. We hate Barbara here.
That's so greasy.
Yeah.
That's greasy. Oh, Babs.
Barbs? The Pritchard family moved into the house in August 1966, and in the name of transparency, there is a bit of confusion surrounding this date.
Yeah.
According to the majority of sources, the family moved in August 1966. However, according to the book, The Black Monk of Pontefract by Richard Eastep and Bill Bungay, Bill Farrar actually says this date is 1955.
Well, yeah, that's a year. Otherwise, then they lived in that house for 12 years. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So, you know, I'm just trying to dig through this, right? So, like, maybe Bill just was misspeaking and the editor missed it, or Pritchard family had a lot more time to get settled into their new house. And if the correct date is August 1966, that would mean the family, minus 15-year-old son, Philip, would almost immediately go on vacation to Devon. But, you know, regardless, Philip and also his grandmother, who's babysitting him, Sarah Scholes, I'll call her the grandmother or Sarah, is, well, just kind of, they have the honor of experiencing the first paranormal happenings to occur to this family.
How fun.
Yeah. So, you know, did they go Like, was it 1966? Was it
No.
1955?
It was 55 or 56.
Well, yeah. So, being a rare sunny day in UK, Philip took it upon himself to go out to the garden to read while Sarah, in peak grandma style, sat in the living room knitting a cardigan.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you, she was locked in. Okay? Locked fucking in. Damn it if she wasn't going to knit the whole damn thing. Okay? She was so fixed on the task at hand. You could not get her away from it. But she couldn't figure out for the life of her how Philip could stand being outside right now. Sure, it was sunny, but it was fucking freezing out. Suddenly, a wind picked up and blew through the whole house, slamming the back door shut. When Philip came back into the house for a drink, thinking the weather must be getting a bit nasty, his grandma asked Philip how things were progressing outside, to which Philip replied, "No, it's pretty calm and warm." Thinking old grandma was having a little bit of a senior moment, he went into the kitchen to make them both some tea. And when he returned with the cups, he froze in the doorway. Just froze in his tracks. Sarah was still sitting in the chair, still knitting away on that cardigan. But just above her head, a strange chalk-like dust was raining down like ash.
Ew.
And not like from the ceiling either. It was as though Philip's head had broken through a layer of clouds, this strange substance coating the room with a thin, chalky layer of grayish-white dust was just below his nose.
Oh, weird.
Finally cluing in to what's going on around her, Sarah looks up and asks Philip, "What the fuck did you just do?" essentially. And, Philip was like, "That's not me. I was in the other room, Grandma."
Literally just made tea.
Yeah. So, it's understandable. She looks up, there's just a cloud of smoke. She's thinking, like, just burn the fucking place down. So, this part makes me question the bit about the cold house, though, because Miss Scholes, Grandma Sarah, was apparently in no way alarmed, just merely baffled.
Jima was on something. She's on an early Valium.
Instead, she started wondering if something had, blown in through the windows. So Sarah decides to go to the house across the street to consult with her other daughter, Marie Kelly. So, intrigued by the whole ordeal and the fact that her mother just came knocking at her door, quote, looking like a snowman, she agreed to, have a look. And obviously, when she got there, she too had no good explanation for the strange occurrence.
Right.
But being a pragmatic pair that they are, their next thought went right to cleaning it up. Marie went to the kitchen to retrieve some cleaning supplies and then nearly fell on the floor. Her foot was standing in a puddle of water that her entire foot just skidded on. And, she inquires of her mother if she was certain there hadn't been some sort of accident, given that there's now a flooded kitchen. And an irritated Sarah replies, "I'm not senile yet."
I was literally just going to say, Philip and now Marie are like, oh, she is losing it, isn't she?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, she's like, no, I'm just trying to fucking make a cardigan.
So Marie grabs a washcloth under the sink and mops up the puddle. As she does this, another puddle, perfectly circular just as the last, began to form. In fact, she notices that for as much as she mopped, the new puddle was growing equally in size. Thinking perhaps this was just a coincidence and the pipes under the floor maybe sprung a leak, she pulled up the corner of the linoleum floor to find it bone dry.
Ew, that's super weird.
At this point, the next door neighbor, just a bunch of nosy Nellies, by the way.
What you doing in there, huh? Oh, linoleum.
Enid Pritchard arrives on the scene. Enid is also part of the family, married to Joe Pritchard's brother. So, yeah. So, she had heard the commotion going on in the house and came to check it out. She doesn't really do much, though. She just kind of checks in to see what's all the ruckus about.
She's like, any snacks? No? Okay, bye.
No snackies. But at this point, they shut the water off and call a technician to check on the pipes. After not finding any issues, the best answer that they could come up with was maybe condensation. But, you know, it's August, so everyone kind of gave him the like, oh, yes, that's great, dear, thank you, and then kind of response, and then off he went. About an hour after the technician left, the strange puddles finally stopped forming.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Maybe they should have called the plumber.
So
bad joke.
Honestly, everyone was just about prepared to call the whole ordeal just one of those weird things that fucking happen.
They're like, is it a full moon? Okay, there we go.
Yeah. So if it weren't for, you know, later that evening when Philip once again walked into the kitchen.
Uh-oh.
He called out over the mechanical clicking sound, "Grandma, it's happening again." When Sarah entered the room, the kitchen counter was covered in sugar and tea leaves. And as she stared at the mess, the tea dispenser, which is like this little cylindrical thing on the wall, its button just slowly kept
and dispensing leaves.
Oh,
it's like reading tea leaves.
Even until it was empty. And it just kept clicking, to which Grandma was freaked out and she just yelled, "Stop it." But, you know, Phil thought that was accusing him, so he was like, I can't, I'm doing it on its own. But no sooner could Philip get these words out when he's interrupted by a strange sound in the hallway.
Oh, God.
Almost like a crashing sound.
Sorry to interrupt. Is it just these two in the house right now? It's just Philip and Sarah?
It's just Philip and Sarah.
Okay.
Sarah again. So Philip's the son of the Pritchard family. Yeah. He's 15. Sarah is the grandmother. Mm-hmm. So being interrupted by this sound, the two just kind of look at each other and then rush to the hallway, expecting to find another horrible mess or an intruder ready to reveal themselves, only to find nothing.
Okay.
A dark, empty hallway. Yeah. As they stood there, the hallway light went on with like click. So at this point, you should already not be in that house. But hey, it's the 1950s. People were just built different. And to that end, the two start examining the hallway to find the source of the crash. And they found it at the bottom of the stairs. A plant that had lived at the bottom of the steps had somehow made its way halfway up the steps without its pot, because the pot was now sitting triumphantly at the top of the landing.
Oh my God, that's so deliberate. And what did the plant even do to you?
Yeah. So next came a violent rattling, again from the kitchen.
No!
The doors to one of the cupboards were now vibrating terribly. And Philip, summoning the courage to actually open the doors, found nothing out of the ordinary. Then, in what I can only assume to be a taunting gesture, came the banging. Mm-hmm. This time, all the way back up the stairs and somewhere on the second floor. Yeah, they were getting the fuck out at this point. And thank God, because listen, if there's one thing I love, it's good haunting. And if I've seen Poltergeist enough times, I know a trap when I fucking see one. Okay? So they're just getting the fuck out of there.
That's like a cat playing with a mouse.
Yeah. But listen, I do wish I could have a word with Philip's grandma at the time, because it's one thing to leave and go have a nice cup of tea with your grandson and daughter Marie across the street after a good haunting. Okay? Mm-hmm. No fault there. You know, an entirely different fucking thing, Grandma, when you then go, oh, you know, we should probably head back. It's 9:30.
Oh, back to the haunting?
Yeah, we should, you know, it's time to get some sleep, time to get some shut-eye.
So they're so afraid they leave, but she's not afraid enough she won't sleep in there.
Nope. Some people are just gluttons for punishment.
Some people are just gluten tolerant.
So, you know, regardless, back into the house they went.
No, I would have been like, Grandma, I love you so much, so I'm staying with Aunt Marie.
Yep. Philip went to bed. Sarah,
What?
tuckered out from the commotion of the day's events, also headed upstairs.
Did they sleep in the same room at least?
No. She entered Philip's room to give him, a goodnight kiss, which...
15-year-old Philip.
And as she leaned down, noticed Philip staring wide-eyed over her shoulder.
Oh!
The wardrobe in the corner of the room was wobbling and swaying from side to side like a drunk during happy hour. Yeah.
Good one.
Thanks. She takes one quick look at the dresser and says, "Philip, get dressed quick. We're going."
Good.
Yep. It was back to Marie's once more, and for them, their encounter with the entity in 30 East Drive was finally over. As Philip and his grandmother slept in their beds, Marie and her husband, Vic, so this is the daughter across the street, and her husband, Vic, had lost all desire to sleep.
It's grandma's daughter and son-in-law.
Yeah. Something had undoubtedly gone awry in 30 East Drive, and they could not sleep without knowing about the unknown source and figuring out what caused this commotion, basically. Especially because, they're probably staring at the fucking thing across their house, right? Like, you just look out the window and it's just looming at you, I bet.
Oh my God, I never thought about that perspective. Ew.
Yeah.
What if something is like in there, a little ghoul watching you?
Yeah.
Ugh.
So Vic decides to, seek some professional help at this point and dials the police station.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's very naive and sweet.
10 minutes later, an Inspector Taylor and 2 constables arrive on the scene. Together, the 5 of them, so those 3 cops plus Vic and Marie, they're,
3 cops arrived?
The inspector and the 2 cops.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
They're bored.
So, they go in, right? Because they're like, this could be a break and enter situation, right?
Oh,
so
ew,
they
there's
go
a squatter?
so they go into the empty home and begin a methodical search of each room, looking under the beds, examining the windows, trying to find any sign of a break-in. The search turned up nothing, and finally they had to conclude that there just was no intruder. You know what, though? Like, I bet that just added to the discomfort they were feeling at the time, because no sooner did the police leave that the 2 continued recounting the falling powder, the pools of water, the rattling cupboards. Vic had, another suggestion, and he just kind of went, "What about your friend, Mr. O'Donnell? He's interested in ghosts, isn't he?"
Oh, shit.
Which, fortunate for both them and O'Donnell.
Right? He's like, oh my God, I've been waiting for this moment.
So, almost midnight at this point, right? The 2 walked up and they saw, that the light was still on O'Donnell's house at the bottom and in the downstairs.
Packing his bags, like, you rang.
Yeah, so they knocked and explained the situation, and O'Donnell did not hesitate.
Yeah.
No hesitation. He immediately grabbed for his coat, and they just went right to the house. And I just have a note here saying we love O'Donnell.
Yeah, well, we do.
Yep.
He's ride or die.
Yeah.
He's been waiting for this moment. He's your man. He's like, who are you going to call? O'Donnell.
Yeah, let me just point out one thing. This ghost likes to fuck with people. So when they enter the house, they were greeted with a rush of frigid air. But now that they were actually sitting expectantly in the room, waiting for some form of manifestation, in true poltergeist fashion, the ghost refused to oblige. Mm-hmm. At about 1:45, O'Donnell suspected things weren't going to go so easily. It's a poltergeist after all. They don't just jump through hoops for you.
They're intelligent.
Yeah. And besides, there's certain to be some fuckery soon enough. So, he's going to head out. And before he heads out, he just mentions one thing. They do funny things, They're very fond of tearing up photographs, I believe. And then he just off O'Donnell went. Because he didn't, he can't stay up all night. But, how crestfallen do you think O'Donnell was? Yeah. So, Marie and Vic are still in the house.
Oh my God.
They're ready to follow suit.
Philip and Sarah across the street, just like...
Good, though.
Finally, a decent night's sleep.
So they go to lock up, and, they flick the light off. And as soon as that light goes off, they hear a crash. Turning the lights back on, they saw 2 small oil paintings on the living room floor, glass shattered, and a framed wedding photo of Jean and Joe Pritchard slashed as if by a knife.
Oh no.
And understandably, the couple wasted no time in getting the absolute fuck out of there. It sounds like it fucking listened to their conversation.
It did. O'Donnell was like, they like slashing and ripping up photos. The poltergeist was like, you mean this one?
Every memory of looking at this photo. I had the photo of looking at this photo. Look at this photo. Look at this photo. Goodbye. Goodbye. Every memory of walking out this photo.
Things would die down a little bit after the first encounter. Philip and his grandmother would return to the house the next day, and honestly, nothing really happened. Philip's parents, Jean and Joe, along with Philip's younger sister, Diane, would return from their holiday at basically like just the day after, and one could only imagine the awkward conversation that came from that.
Yeah.
Like, hey, hope you had a fun time. Everyone's, good and everything's in order. The weather was great. Oh, and by the way, you have a nasty ghost problem. Okay, bye.
And I hope you have a spare wedding photo.
Yeah, and they also explain the wedding photo getting slashed. When Joe kind of asked about, what had really gone on and specifically inquired about the odd knocking that they had mentioned that they had heard, it seemed he actually got a direct answer. Another chilling breeze swept past the family, followed by 3 distinct knocks, just like Philip and Sarah had heard earlier.
It is listening.
It's 100% listening. It's
Ew.
coherent. But after this, there really didn't seem to be any troubles. In fact, 2 full years went by without any activity. And I absolutely hate that, because that's enough time that you start letting the doubt sink in. Like, not enough to convince you it didn't happen, and like not to be like, no, it didn't happen, but it'll always be that little voice, right? Like, like that was so long ago and like nothing's happened,
We finally you start to relax a bit, let your walls down again.
Yeah,
and
you think like,
okay, I'm comfortable here.
Yeah, you start to think like, was it construction something? Like,
Was the house settling?
Yeah. But regardless of what the family was thinking, it didn't seem to put them off too much from carrying on with their daily lives, right? The grandmother kept coming for frequent visits. Diane was now 15, and Jean Pritchard was redecorating her house just because she's older, so they're making themselves at home, right? And so basically, Jean kind of comes down to go see the mother in the kitchen, and she was going to go make some tea. This is kind of her break. And you can kind of tell that there's something on the grandmother's mind.
Oh, God.
She keeps bringing up the whole ghost ordeal again. She's kind of hinting about it, and it was obviously just like kind of sitting on the fact that the bank holiday was coming up again.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
And
So
that's
it's the
true.
anniversary
When
of it.
something traumatizing happens and the anniversary of it comes around, you do biologically react, whether you want to or not, or you think you are.
Mhm.
It does trigger
Yeah.
the memory, and it's probably extra bad for Sarah because she actually was there during
Yeah.
it.
It's also extra bad because Sarah says she's starting to hear the knocking again.
Oh, God.
She goes, I keep hearing noises, to which Jean says, well, I haven't, and I'm in the house practically all the time.
Yeah, she's like, oh,
Yeah.
I've been renovating, so that's probably all.
Yeah, and then Sarah goes, did you hear that just now? And Jean goes, no.
She fucking did. They're gaslighting grandma.
No, and she heads out into the hall. Sorry, I had to put that in there
No.
because it's such a funny exchange
It is.
to me.
She
Like,
doesn't even get tea either. She just goes, no, and leaves.
yeah, just out. So, if you know Poltergeist, you probably know where this is going. They love to emotionally manipulate their victims. Because as Jean made her way back to Diane's room to continue decorating, Diane's room is on the 2nd floor, by the way. And the kitchen's obviously on the 1st.
Oh, weird.
Jean noticed Diane's bed runner laying at the foot of the stairs. You know that little blanket you put
Oh, yeah.
on the end of the bed?
At the foot of the stairs? Like
like
first
the bottom.
floor?
like the bottom. Yeah, which, not okay. So baffled how it could possibly have gotten there, given that she had just like walked down those steps like 10 minutes ago to get a cup of tea. She kind of just went like, that's fucking weird, shrugged, and put it where it belonged.
I would have that like cold chill.
Yeah.
Knowing what grandma just said, I would be like, no, 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 no.
Yeah.
No.
Well, obviously thinking, bitch, you're really not getting this. The house was filled with yet another loud crash.
Oh my God.
Running to the stairs, Jean finds another bed runner, this time from Philip's room, laying at the foot of the steps, along with another set of upended pots, soil spilt absolutely everywhere. Coming downstairs, Jean finds her mother in tears, and she says, I told you, it's starting again.
No.
Sarah would head back home by the time Joe returned from work.
She's like, my heart can't take this. Are you kidding?
God. I mean, like, what are you going to do, right? Like, she warned you, and she's like, I'm not sitting here for this.
No.
So that night, Jean, understandably now, was having a bit of trouble sleeping.
Oh my God, yeah, I'd be horrified.
Yeah. Despite both windows being open, she found it was also way too hot to sleep in her room. She slipped out of the sheets and made her way into the hall. It was quiet, and a cool chill lingered in the air. In the faded glow from the streetlight outside, she could see something beginning to move at the corner of the landing, just on the stairs. It swayed and rustled, and Jean went to the light, but as she did, something whizzed past her head, missing her by a matter of millimeters. A paintbrush crashing down onto the floor. This was promptly followed by a paste bucket, which struck the wall, spilling its contents all onto the carpet. Squinting in the darkness, she could now make out the figure in the on the landing to be a large strip of wallpaper, which was, previously lying in a roll against the wall, but now was just oscillating like a cobra sizing its prey.
Ew.
Yeah. So I don't know though. She's obviously like, Philip gets the courage from Jean because she like immediately lunged and grabbed this thing.
Wow.
And suddenly it just like fluttered to the ground lifeless, like before she can even grab it. And apparently not appreciating this brave act, a carpet sweeper raised into the air and began swinging wildly towards Jean, threatening to strike her like a club.
Jesus.
She couldn't even scream. She fell on all fours and just scurried back into her room. And for good measure, a roll of wallpaper was then launched in pursuit, striking the door.
Wow.
Now the screaming came.
Yeah.
Joe startled from his sleep, and the kids came out from their rooms to investigate. And as they stood there, all kinds of objects flew furiously along the hall. One item flew at Diane and missed, but a paintbrush hurled at rapid speed again, this time it's at Diane, struck her in the shoulder. But strangely enough, it felt like nothing more than like a gentle tap.
Weird.
And, Joe cried out, "Don't stand there!"
Thanks, you're fucking helpful, Dad.
Whatever it was, though, this invisible thing hell-bent on terrifying the Pritchard family made a dash into Diane's room.
What?
Philip, standing from the doorway, watched as a wooden pelmet, which is like a heavy wooden frame that you place above a window to conceal the curtain fixtures.
That's so specific.
Yeah, it's like a square little... I had to Google it.
Oh, like a bracket type thing?
Yeah, like a little bracket.
Yeah. Okay.
So those are heavy, and they're usually kind of like fastened with like larger screws, keep it in place. Yeah, that went soaring out the fucking window and smashed against the path below. And that pissed Joe off, I guess.
Okay, yeah, dads have weird priorities.
Yeah, so Joe ran past Diane and just slammed the door shut to trap it inside. And they could hear more loud bangs and thumps coming from inside. So I don't know what the fuck Diane's problem is, but she reached out her arm to grab the handle. To which Joe obviously just yelled, "Don't touch it!" And in response, though, came a hard thud on the other side of the door, like someone punched it.
Let
Obviously,
me out.
Diane did not fucking sleep in that room that night. She slept in her parents' room.
Good.
Yeah.
But they like made a nest for her at the bottom of the bed like a dog.
Yeah, and
Just
they made her
kidding.
sleep in that shitty little bed runner. So,
The thing is mad that the room's getting renovated.
yeah, it does not like it, apparently.
Yeah.
So at this point, the Pritchard family was coming to understand the inexplicable occurrences that Philip and his grandmother, Sarah, had experienced some 2 years earlier. And seeing as this is their home, they bound together in the understanding that they would not relinquish it to being hell-bent on bullying them out of it.
Yeah, bully.
Yeah. Perhaps to help them with this, they ended up giving the entity the name of Mr. Nobody.
I've seen that movie, and it's actually really good, but it has Jared Leto. It has nothing to do with this.
I was gonna say, it sounds familiar. The whole time I was doing this, I was like, it's familiar. But I couldn't put my finger on it, and I just made sure that we didn't never cover this. That was the
No,
extent I was
no.
worried about.
No.
Yeah. But because Mr. Nobody appeared to be, well, a bit of a dick, Philip made the suggestion that perhaps they could do away with Mr. Nobody through an exorcism. Everyone seemed to just fucking love this idea, and sure enough, Marie's husband, Vic's just on top of it, man. Vic's here. He's here to help.
Vic has been waiting for this exact dopamine hit.
Yeah, so Vic reached out to a local vicar, which is like...
Oh, he's like, it's my task for me. You see, my name's in the name.
Yeah, so I guess like vicars are basically like kind of like priests. So the vicar's name was Reverend Davy.
Cute.
And someone asks, well, I don't know, Davy. It's an old joke. Did it land?
Old joke.
Oh yeah. Anyway, moving on. Now Reverend Davy kind of was explaining to Vic that it's actually not really easy to get an exorcism approved, but especially, around this time, like the bishop's really not going to want to be doing it because of the number of cases that practically just made shit worse.
Yeah.
So that was getting like a notoriety at the time as well. So nevertheless, he did agree to swing by and give things the once over. Jean made sandwiches. Yeah. And a little note there. She made sandwiches and tea for everyone. So
they were probably boring. They were like cucumber and that's it.
I don't know. They're probably chicken sandwiches. She was making chicken sandwiches a few times.
That's her new ADHD food fixation. She's making everyone eat chicken sandwiches.
Hey, man, just let her have her fixations, okay? She's going through it right now.
I know, she's actually badass.
So
everyone needs protein for the fight. Eat your chicken sandwich.
So if you recall a similar visit to the house with O'Donnell, you'll remember that this ghost seemed to have some rather great comedic timing. And as with O'Donnell's visit, Mr. Nobody seemed to love nothing more than to wait for the perfect opportunity to make his presence known.
Oh yeah, he loves it.
Yeah. And as Jean, Joe, and the Reverend, along with Marie and Vic, sat just enjoying their sandwiches and tea, there was not a peep from the otherworldly inhabitant. Just as Jean began to apologize, saying, sorry, Reverend, for dragging you all the way over for nothing, she was interrupted by a loud thud from upstairs, and a small brass candle jumped off the mantelpiece onto the floor.
And then Joe went, oh, because he tripped on the fucking carpet.
Actually, Jean went, there.
Oh!
I'm dead serious.
She went fucking Indiana Jones on it.
She did. She pointed straight
you
at
have to
it.
make it a lot more guttural.
There. Yep. So I suppose Reverend Davy was a bit underwhelmed, though, by the whole thing. Because then he just says, I think I know what your problem is.
Oh.
Subsidence. Meaning the ground beneath the house was sinking. To which Marie replied that subsidence would only make things fall and does nothing to explain objects floating around the house. And as she was explaining this, another candlestick raised into the air and levitated in front of Davy's nose and then dropped to the ground.
And then the ghost broke a plate over his head. Like, is that enough?
Well, no, yeah, it didn't do that. But this ghost does love crashing shit. So obviously that happens again. And this time It was so loud that the family thought the furniture was falling through from the second level floor.
Holy shit.
Yeah. When they got into the living room, they found all the contents of the fine china, like cabinet, the teacups, the plates, scattered all over the carpet, but completely unharmed.
Oh, okay. Oh, but it was loud?
But it was like super loud because I guess like all that shit moved at once. Yeah,
Ew.
he makes like super loud noises. Like it took me like 5 reads over about the whole the pot
Mm-hmm.
and the stairs because they kept describing it as like a crash, but like the pot wasn't broken. The plant was sitting upright, so he's just super noisy.
Because it's really jarring. It's upsetting.
Yeah. So you know, from this point in my research, it feels like a bit of a jump cut because in the book that I was reading from Colin Wilson's, The Poltergeist, a classic study in destructive hauntings, Reverend Davy just straight up leaves.
He's like, I am underqualified. I will reach out to the Vatican, okay?
Yeah, did he look into doing an exorcism or conduct some sort of ceremony? No clue.
No.
Sure does not look like it. In fact, it's kind of hinted that he absolutely did not, and he just did nothing after this.
He
and
repressed it.
I honestly have a hard time imagining it went any other way than the exorcism scene in the opening sequence of Scary Movie 2 with James Woods. Just saying, fuck this.
Just didn't like start dry humping the ghoul.
Oh my god! You know when I went to go look that up when I was writing that I had to watch the whole thing.
It's
again.
so funny. I love Scary Movie. They're so good.
So
sorry, now I'm picturing all of it.
it's hard to get out of your head at that point, but I'd imagine this probably really didn't sit that well with Mr. Nobody either, as we know they're on the bit of the dramatic side. And so later that evening, it turned its attention on Diane. Diane was making her way up the stairs to bed when a chill filled the room of 30 East Drive yet again. The lights cut out, and from the half-light of the street lamp outside,
No, not again.
she could make out the monstrously large shadow of a figure on the wall. At that moment, the heavy oak hall stand rose up from its footing just above the stairs and just started moving ever closer to her. And then Diane fell backwards, causing, she tripped. She was basically just plummeted to the ground. So she's looking at this thing creeping towards her, and then it just presses against her, this heavy oak stand. It's basically, it looks like a I don't even know, like almost like a dresser, I guess. Anyway, it's basically just pinned her there. And for good measure, an electric sewing machine also piled on top of her.
What the fuck?
And these just floated on top of her, by the way. It wasn't like fell down the stairs, like it cascaded to her. She tried pushing against this, and it just was not budging an inch. The lights came back on, and Diane was finally able to start screaming for help. Jean was the first to rush over, trying to drag the large oak furniture off of her, but it was like not moving, so something was pressing it down. And Philip also tried to heave this thing like back, and it just, even despite their collective efforts, so you have a grown adult woman and a 17-year-old boy trying to press this thing off of her, it just remained exactly in place.
You need dad rage.
Yeah. And I should also mention, speaking of dads, Joe wasn't just ignoring his daughter's screams at this point. He was, when the lights first went out, he was going right for
the breaker,
the torch. He was trying to find a flashlight.
Okay.
Because it seems like, I don't know if they've clued in yet, and I don't know if you've clued in yet either, listener. Shit goes down when the lights go out.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So,
well, actually, shit goes down when you feel that cold breeze, and then you know it's time to prepare.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the cold breeze is the hint.
Yeah.
Then the lights go out.
Then
horrible. Shit happens. But nothing happens when the lights are on. So, Oh,
I have a question. The huge shadow that Diane saw, was it just the stand like making its way into the streetlight, or was
Nope.
there? It was like a big Babadook shadow.
Yep. Yeah, and it's not exactly in the story, in the Colin Wilson's thing so much. There's actually another book after, like Colin Wilson wrote his book, which is like kind of the foundational reading, I guess, of
Yeah,
this
that's
house.
what I was gonna say.
And so the whole story is that he got alerted to this house because there was a local researcher looking into Cluniac monks at the time in the area, and he kind of started putting this together and suggested, yeah, hey, come, I think that whatever's fucking with this house is a monk.
Oh.
Yeah. And I'm spoiling the spoiler or whatever. I mean, you guys know it's a monk, sort of.
Black Monk
Yeah.
something or other.
So, he comes in interviews and starts like basically writing all this stuff down. And there's another book that follows after this by Bill Bungay and Estep that expand more on this and dig deeper and do a full book into this house alone, because Colin Wilson's is like a chapter. His is looking specifically at poltergeists.
I gotcha.
Yeah. So anyway, the dad wasn't ignoring his family. He was looking for a torch because if you can have a light on, you can stop things from happening, more or less.
True.
So I don't know if they knew that at the time, but I feel like they did based on this.
Maybe, yeah, or it's just dad trying to make himself useful.
Yeah. So at the very least, Jean was relieved that her daughter wasn't actually being crushed to death, given she was screaming, right? If you're crushed, you can't get the air out.
Right.
And she was also trying to push her way free, so, she can move a little bit. So Jean encouraged her daughter to, just try and relax, okay? And you know what? Damned if that didn't work. The moment Diane calmed herself enough to relax, the hall stand and the sewing machine just fell to the wayside, and Diane stood up without so much as even a bruise.
Weird. It's actually just tormenting them. It's just really a cat and mouse game. It's so creepy.
Yeah, but I kind of feel the frustration from the poltergeist for this, though, because I don't know what it is with this family, but apparently Diane, though shaken, walked away from this with the impression that this thing didn't mean to hurt her at all. It meant her no harm. And, Jean promptly put her daughter back to bed. And that, to me, is just something else.
That's absolute 100% denial.
Yeah. Like how you almost got crushed.
Survive just to be like, no, I literally won't be able to sleep ever again if I think that I am being hunted. So I'm just going to say if it wanted to kill me, it would have. And it means no harm. Good night.
And, well, here's your hazard not to do that. Obviously, if a ghost is bold enough to try and throw a piece of heavy furniture down a flight of stairs at you, it's probably not going to just chill out after that.
It literally was stalking you in the hallway.
Yeah. So as Diane laid in bed, that familiar icy chill creeped in again. Her bed sheets were violently ripped away and flung into the corner, and her mattress was yeeted off the frame, sending Diane sailing into the air along with it.
Whoa!
All of this happened in the blink of an eye. The mattress landed on top of her, also.
Okay.
Which sucks.
Yeah.
Also, this happened 4 more times.
What do you mean? That same in a row?
This happened 4 more times that night.
Oh. What? Wait, what?
Yeah.
She didn't go and say, Mom, it's not over?
No, just let it keep happening.
She just kept putting
apparently.
the mattress back on her bed. She liked it. She's a freak.
I had to read that so many times over and over. Because it's just a sentence.
It.
This happened 4 more times that night. And I was like...
wait a minute. It's like the most simple sentence. 4 more times that night. No.
4? I'm sorry, you said 4. I thought you meant 2. No, 4 times.
So girl was just lugging the mattress back, going back to sleep, and then she'd be yeeted again. And also no one was like, Diane, what are you doing in there? It's like 4 a.m.
Yeah, where was her... there's no explanation as to, what her, family thought of that.
But who knows, though, from outside the room, even think about how, paintbrushes would get hurled at you, but it felt like no more than a breeze touched you.
Yeah.
Maybe from outside the room, it didn't sound like anything.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
And obviously, the poltergeist can control sounds. Because like you said, the pot with the plant, for example, never broke, but the crash was loud.
Yeah.
So maybe it can also stifle.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, for sure. But I guess about now is a good time. to start painting a bit of a picture of this Mr. Nobody.
Please, because I'm
Yep.
just picturing a Babadook with Jared Leto's face.
Yeah, because as the intention of the haunting is like kind of like the intensity of the haunting is kind of just ramping up at this point. Mr. Nobody is going to start giving more clues about their physical
Oh
manifestation.
god, that's so fucking creepy.
And oh god, I did not like this, and I was writing this so late at one point, and I was just
it's so
anyway.
late right now. I'm scared.
So like y'all gonna hate this. Okay, so his origins disputed. Okay, I'll just leave it at that.
That's like every lore.
Yeah, but I'm gonna guide you guys in a direction, but I'll leave this part. So remember when I mentioned at the beginning that Chesterfield Estate is built on the land surrounding Pontefract Castle? Well, part of that land specifically is an orchard believed to be tended by the monks of the Priory of St. John the Evangelist. As the story goes, one of those monks in the 1600s was a complete piece of shit.
Oh, good.
One caught for apparently raping and murdering a young girl.
It's like totally opposite of what a monk should be.
Yeah. So it's just like holy, fuck, like you have to be like just pure evil. So obviously this was universally frowned upon.
Good, even back then, that's great.
So they executed him by hanging, and then that sucker got tossed down the well.
Ew.
Yeah.
That's a bad place to put him.
Both this well and
Wasn't
the gallows.
There like a 35-foot moat you could have thrown him in?
There's no moat. That was the dungeon. But both this well and the old gallows are said to have been in close proximity to this house.
Okay.
Yeah. And I know you're kind of thinking like, thanks for spoiling the like Black Monk of Pontefract, Dyson. We would have never guessed it would be a monk. So you know, this.
I'm leaving. Goodbye. I can't believe you spoiled this.
Well, come back here.
Fucking fine.
This story comes with a really big caveat. Okay.
I'd have never had caveat.
It's crunchy, a little salty.
Made a bad joke just like you.
While there's evidence of 30 East Drive being built on top of an orchard, there's no historical record to back up the existence of a monk being hanged, let alone, you know, all the terrible things that is said that he did.
The church probably destroyed it.
Yeah, that's also the thing, you know. But like, listen, in Bill Bungay and Richard Estep's book, The Black Monk of Pontefract, they speak with this guy named Andy Evans, who himself has written a book on the subject called Don't Look Back in Anger. And
I heard you say.
He spent the most time out of anyone investigating this haunting. And Evans suggests an origin I feel is a little bit more in line with the personality, actions, and manifestations of this entity. He believes that in 1960s, when the poltergeist began tormenting the inhabitants of 30 East Drive, it chose the appearance of something which, quote, ran like a thread through the history of Chesterfield area, a monk. In short, even in appearance, this thing shows a level of intelligence and forethought to shroud itself in the very fabric of Chesterfield. And
I was going to say that's actually worse.
Yeah.
That's actually 5,000 times worse.
Yeah, it gets worse than this.
Good.
You're left with this extra unsettling feeling, knowing that, of not really knowing what you're truly dealing with.
Exactly. Something that is not only that intelligent, but possesses the power to change into whatever.
Mm-hmm. So I've got some examples to give you a sense of why I hate this so much, and you're kind of already touching on that point. So we left off with Diane living through what felt like a real life rejected tempiric matrix commercial. Yo, I was funny when I wrote that. But spoiler, there's like a lot more to come. One episode that Jean recalls is on one hand like pretty damn funny actually, and on the other just like flat out like disturbing, revolves around the disappearance of sandwiches.
Oh god, no, I knew sure this fixation would come back to the sandwiches.
Yep. So Jean was minding her own business, making sandwiches. They were chicken sandwiches. When suddenly the lights go out. Moments later, the lights turn back on again.
Oh, that's weird.
She thinks to herself, that's odd. I usually like it usually makes us put them on again. Nevertheless,
Before doing something scary.
yeah. So Jean picks up her tray and tea and sandwiches and walks into the living room where Diane and Philip were watching TV. Before they could begin eating, the lights went out once more. A rushing noise reminiscent of a strong wind filled the air, and objects began flying around in the darkness. The room became noticeably colder. They all heard this like really creepy, like gentle, like rapping tap type
Ugh.
sound on the window, which like this is a super loud ghost, so
Mhm.
it's just fucked up.
Yeah.
It's just uncalled for. And then when the lights came back on, they saw the room in a disarray with ornaments and cushions scattered all across the floor. The sandwich plate remained on the table, but it was empty, and the sandwiches like just completely disappeared.
Oh no.
Yeah,
The chicken sandwiches.
the chicken sandwiches. Jean would quickly find those sandwiches actually stuffed behind the television.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, well, it gets worse because only when she picked it up, one of these sandwiches, that she was horrified to notice that something had taken an absolutely massive bite out of it. And
Ew.
whatever it was donning just gigantic teeth.
Like giant horse teeth or like sharp big teeth.
Like gator-like teeth.
That's really creepy. I
Yeah.
was hoping it would just be like a weird horse tooth and then it would just be like a really weird mouth. But the fact that they're all sharp is so
Oh,
gross.
it's just upsetting, isn't it? And so she tried to actually keep the sandwich in a little baggie to like show it off, to like show people like, look, this is the shit we're dealing with. But it's a sandwich, you know, it
Yeah.
turned like kind of crumpled into like crumbs by the end of
Oh,
it.
totally. It just turned into like croutons.
Yeah. So that became useless. Another time is when Joe's sister Maud paid a visit. At this point, the house was gaining a bit of a like reputation, and even actually getting some reporters, like local reporters, who were kind of just trying to relay the wild experiences that the Pritchard family were experiencing. And that notoriety also kind of drew the attention of, you know, some small time amateur investigators. But I guess like Maud really just felt kind of indignant about the whole idea, and she was also a bit of a skeptic herself. So you know, she felt like this was about the time where she should pay a visit and see what all the fuss is about. So yeah, we'll see where this goes. So Maud felt there was a logical explanation for like everything, and even went as far as to actually like accuse Jean and Joe of basically saying that they're making this up for like a joke at other people's expense.
My God.
Yeah.
That's very audacious.
Yeah, it's a bold fucking move. And obviously Jean and Joe did not take kindly to the like this accusation, but evidently like neither did their tormented guest.
No, especially since it's clearly like listening.
Exactly. So as Maud sat by the electric fireplace, the lights, like in the living room, the lights went out, and then the refrigerator door swung open. The couple watched by the light of this like fire as a carton of milk floated across the room, hovered over Maud's head, and then slowly started tilting to dump all its contents on top of her.
Oh my God. It was like, oh, am I still made up or no?
So like Maud like lunges up and yells, "It was those kids!" To which those kids were actually standing next to Jean like the whole time.
Also, how could they ever have rigged that?
Yeah, exactly. Like what do they got, like fishing wire? Like
Yeah.
check above your head.
And so slowly too.
Yeah. I mean, like even when a room goes like dark, right? Like and the lights go out, like you could still see more, like you could see like movement. You can hear
Yeah.
things, right? So it wasn't the kids. Like you would hear like their scurrying footsteps, you'd know. But
Yeah, they're just like, she's just like, somehow, some way, I know this was you.
yeah.
Which, it's obviously this ghoul is like proving a point with that. So now you're like still not believing
Yeah.
that that's who's doing it. So it's just gonna be extra mad.
Well, yeah, exactly. So, Jean points out, like, no, these kids have been beside me the whole fucking time, and says, like, look, why don't you just stay the night and see for yourself?
Oh,
To
good
which,
idea.
yeah, Maud replies, all right, I will.
So, oh yeah.
She takes off her, like, milk-soaked hat and coat, and then
Ugh.
starts, like, searching around for her gloves. And then one of the kids just chimes in, don't worry, they'll show up. They always do.
Oh, klepto ghoul.
Yeah. So, like, this is a just common occurrence.
And probably some foreshadowing.
So over the course of the evening, there was like one more blow up, I guess you could call it, that saw like the usual banging, cupboard shaking, and the chair turned upside down. It's weird that I say like the usual blow up, but other than that, like they were just more or less like left alone like until the night.
Yeah, because it was like, I gotta conserve my strength to scare the shit out of you, Maud.
I think so because so with Maud paying a visit, they had rearranged the beds basically. So all the women would be in one room. So Jean, Diane, and Maud would be in one room, and that was Philip's room. And then Philip went into Diane's room, which is much smaller. And then Joe just slept in his own bed. So lucky Joe.
I guess if you want to be alone.
Yeah, no kidding.
I thought it would be like the girls have a little slumber party and then the boys have a party. But the boys were like, no thanks, I'm good.
Yeah. No, I'm right. I'll just risk it. Thanks. So Jean Pritchard had barely gotten into bed when the disturbances started. The reading lamp in the room just started levitating and then just floated across the room and then just exited through the door.
It's like, you guys are boring. I'm leaving.
Shortly after that, they noticed like movement around the door. And when they looked a little closer, that they saw it was actually the 4 small light bulbs from the electric fireplace downstairs, with 2 bulbs dancing near the top of the door and 2 bulbs dancing near the bottom. And they're kind of like dancing in a like, hey, look at me over here, check this out.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah. And that's when they saw the hands.
The hands?
One enormous hand clasped at the top of the door,
Ew.
and then another wrapped around from the bottom of the frame.
God.
Yeah.
Enormous hands?
Yeah, like big hands.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
A normal sized door?
Yeah.
Like just a normal
like
fucking ass door.
Like larger than 6 fucking feet. Yep.
Oh my God.
Yep. So looking out in terror, they could see whatever it was actually wearing Aunt Maud's fur gloves.
Oh Lord.
Yeah.
It'll turn up. They always do.
Yeah, well, it fucking turned up, and let me tell you,
Taunting Maud in her own gloves.
The like wingspan on this fucker.
Yeah.
Put your hand at the top of the door, and then try and reach towards the bottom of the door, and let me know how far you get. This thing reached all the way to the bottom as well. So
yeah, that's a big wingspan.
It's just
that's a big boy.
It's a big boy. So
stretch the shit out of Maud's gloves.
Yeah, I know. So Maud just cries out, "Get away, you're evil," and then hucks a boot at the door.
Hell yeah.
And so the gloves vanish.
Is this Jean's sister or sister-in-law? Who is this?
I think it's Joe's sister.
Oh, right. Well, anyway, This family is full of feisty women.
Oh, yeah. So those gloves vanish and then they reappear, now floating inside the room. And one of the hands starts making a beckoning motion, as if encouraging them to follow. Yeah, like none of them are fucking doing that. Thank you. And then in seeing this, the hand then turns to Maud, makes a fist, and then just starts shaking it threateningly in her direction.
Oh, Lord.
So
This thing has it out for her.
yeah, so then, Maud's going through it. She responds by singing Onward, Christian Soldiers.
Oh, yeah. She's already traumatized.
Yeah.
She's like, this is so fucking unbelievable.
Which is like, that song is like one of those like choir type songs that you kind of chant sing.
Oh, no.
Like it's almost like
Maud.
a troop song. So obviously something they like teach you early in school or something like that. So understandably, they didn't sleep all too well that night.
Honestly, it's probably lucky that Maud was with them that night instead of her being put alone in a room or something. Who knows what would have happened?
I feel like it would have fucking killed her.
It would have like done something pretty terrible because
Yeah.
it literally is taunting her with her own gloves,
Mm-hmm.
beckoning her to go with it, and when she doesn't, it is like, well, fuck you.
Yeah.
And then she's instantly like, singing to try and comfort herself, but she's probably so goddamn scared and probably felt silly because she's like, I'm sorry that I said this wasn't real. This is so fucked up.
Yeah. Like realizing you're being a bit of a dick to everyone else who's been living in this situation. So
Yeah.
Jean would find Maud's gloves sometime later, appearing at the bottom of the cupboards.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
I would bury them.
So when Jean went to go return them, Maud actually like refused to even touch them.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Instead, she took them with a pair of like tongs, brought them out to the garden, dumped a bunch of accelerant on them, and just burned them.
I am with her. I would have not wanted anything to do with them.
Absolutely.
Its hands were in there, or whatever it has.
Oh, it's just violated at that point. Like that was the point of it, right? Like, so, I guess like that's kind of, I wanted to bring those up because that's kind of like talking to the whole like monk point I was talking about earlier, like how absolutely terrifying it is when you start getting the idea that whatever you're dealing with, it really doesn't appear to be bound to a human form unless it wants you to think it is.
Definitely.
Yeah. So it also really puts into perspective like how important it was for the family to try and give it like a name, like Mr. Nobody, or as Joe later christened it, Fred. I'm not using that. This is lame. But
It is lame.
it's like a coping mechanism though, to allow them to be a little less afraid, and by giving it this like made up persona,
Yeah.
which I don't think it wanted. I think it wanted you to be wholly confused, right?
Yeah. Wanted
Yeah.
to keep you afraid because that's like 101 when talking about any sort of ghoul, demon, poltergeist, whatever, is like they want to basically use your fear as a life force. So it wants you to be afraid.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm with them. As soon as you give something a name, you instantly humanize it. Whether it's a human or not, or good or bad, you kind of have a little bit more control to be
Yeah.
like, that's the name, we can at least call it that, and instead of it just being this horrible, scary entity.
Yeah, exactly. So at this point, Vic Kelly, who, remember, that's the husband to Marie Kelly, who's across the street, right?
He's good. He's cool.
Oh yeah, he's on top of this. He seems to be like really trying to help out so hard, because like now he's onto the notion that like, you know what? That last guy was a dud, but like, what would really solve the situation? A Catholic exorcism. Okay, we had the wrong like sect. We need Catholic this time. So
sorry about that first wreck. Anyway, let's get this guy.
So like he approached his own priest, Father Hudson, who just like the vicar, was like not really gung ho for the whole exorcism idea.
They never are.
Yeah, no.
Like, how much paperwork that is, bruh.
Yeah, you gotta get permission and shit, and like again, like there was a whole bunch of like press and stuff, I guess, at the time. I don't think it was local, but like about how exorcisms were really just making shit way worse and like fucking things up, and it was not gonna happen, and like I grew up in the Catholic kind of upbringing, I guess, not like really, but like I went to the school, went to the church, and all that kind of stuff, and
They weren't like diehard practicing.
no, and the bureaucracy of like the Catholic Church as an institution, like it's a whole fucking thing. I'd imagine if you wanted to get an actual exorcism.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with the church at that point. You have to go to the literal Vatican.
Mm-hmm.
Who don't have time for you.
Yeah. So, instead, Father Hudson just suggests, here's some holy water. Why don't you just try like splashing that around in the rooms and see what happens?
Holy water, if that doesn't work, come back. I got a box crucifix for you, okay?
Yeah. So, Vic takes it because he's like, hey, anything.
He really wants to help, like you said.
You damn right he does, because he takes it into the house and he does it.
I love that.
Yeah, like, just like I'm reading off my notes.
Going to be thorough too.
Yeah, I'm reading off my notes, but I'm just kind of like, it's dawning on me now. Like, this man opted to like not only like give the suggestion and reach out to his priest, but specifically take the holy water and just start going room to room.
Mm-hmm. Plus, it could be a dangerous job, and he's like, "It's okay, I got you."
Yeah. So he starts just going room to room, but he leaves the living room, the most active room, for last.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking the rationale there was because that seemed to be where Mr. Nobody loved to hang out.
Yeah.
So what you want to do is get all the other rooms where he's probably not in, and then take him on at the end, so he doesn't run around.
Oh yeah, like work outside in, kind of like kind of cornering him.
Yeah, box him in.
That's so smart.
Yeah, exactly.
Vic, wow, you little genius.
So like my favorite part about this is like, just like as soon as he's done in the living room, he stands there and he's like, so how long is this supposed to take? And then immediately there's a loud crash upstairs.
Oh God.
And then streams of water just start pouring down the walls.
Oh my gosh.
So like
Mr. Nobody was like rejecting it or like getting pissed.
Just
taunting
him with it. Cause like long story short, that didn't work.
Wow.
That was just like, great, thanks. Like
Vic's like, fuck. Really thought that was gonna work, guys. Were they with him or was he alone in the house doing this?
It seemed like he was on his own.
Wow, he's extra brave.
Yeah, this guy was just doing it. It's just he just went in there. I don't know.
He really just wanted to help.
He was so balls to the walls for like his wife though too. Like when she came in, because initially he was like, I don't know, like that sounds like a break-in to me, guys. Like, I really want to make sure you're safe. Let's call the police.
Yeah.
And then they were like, no, it's not. And then he immediately was like, well, not immediately. They were talking about it. And he was like, hey, isn't your friend like a super like into a ghost hunter? Yeah. So like this guy's like, he's just trying, man. So I appreciate him. Vic, you're great. I do have in my notes a bit of a side note. So Brianna, do you remember that time that I stuck a piece of tape to Kobe's butt? His back, but
it was a piece from a lint roller, and you stuck it like near his tail.
Yeah, what happened?
Let an intrusive thought win. And Kobe hated it. He instantly started running around like feral crazy, zoomies on steroids, parkouring around, trying to get away from the tape that wouldn't fall off of his fur. And I was like, why would you do that?
And for the record, I felt really bad.
You immediately was like, I don't know why I did that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And then I was like, you're taking it off of him because like he's a cat. He's all floof.
Yeah, I didn't expect it to stick so good because like I figured
it. I had used it as to lint roll.
Yeah, and like I don't know, like you roll it off your shirt. Like, does it feel like it sticks that hard? No, but it like stuck to this kid. Anyway, so that poor cat.
Oh my God, yeah, I was so mad. I was like, why did you do that?
Okay, well, I wanted to bring that to mind because one day, after skipping school from exhaustion of being flung from her bed all night, Diane managed to catch a bit of shut-eye during the day by sleeping on the living room sofa. So she just didn't go to school just because she's just too exhausted. And when she woke up in the early afternoon, she walked over to the mirror to like kind of like brush her hair because like you slept on the sofa, you're probably a bit of a mess, right?
Oh my God, right? You have a nest for hair.
So the brass crucifix was sitting on the mantle. And it flew from its place and stuck firmly to Diane's back.
Oh my God, like the tape on Kobe.
Yeah. She immediately started running around the house, screaming, panic-stricken, get it off me, get it off me!
Yep.
Jean kind of intercepts her and tries to pull, like, fiercely on this cross, but it just would not give.
What the fuck?
So Diane continues running in an absolute frenzy. as she enters the hall, like she's at this point, she's out of the room, she's in the hall. She hears like a sound just kind of falling, something falling behind her. So she looks down to see not the cross, but the figure of Jesus had fallen to the floor.
Oh my god, even Jesus was like, get it off!
Yeah, which I feel is like such a like cold fucking message from the poltergeist.
For real.
Like there's no Jesus here.
Was the cross on her back inverted or just normal?
It was as far as from all the stories, none of them mention it being inverted, so I assume it's just upright.
Yeah, that definitely would have been like, it was inverted.
Yeah.
Which I'm surprised Mr. Nobody wouldn't troll that extra hard and put it like
Yeah.
inverted, but that's so scary.
There are like instances where like the cross was flipped upside down and stuff, but they were like so small that I didn't really mention it because like it's just absolute fuckery in this household at this point. So
yeah, they're like, oh, look at that, the crucifix upside down again. Anyway,
yeah, like pictures.
When's the cold breeze coming back?
Yeah, like chairs upside down. It loved doing that. But so she just keeps running at that point. By the time she gets to the end of the hall, this thing finally falls off her back. This cross, right? And it just kind of does it on its own. Only when Jean lifts up the back of her shirt, there's just a big red cross mark imprinted between her shoulder blades. That would take like several days to fade away.
Was it like a burn or just a mark?
It was like it burned her, yeah.
That's so horrible.
Yeah. So anyway, that was my side note. Made me think of that time I accidentally. Yeah, okay.
I was gonna say no.
Yeah, no, that time
it's very clear it was intrusive thoughts.
Yeah, let the intrusive thoughts win.
Wow. Also, that's just so sad for Diane because she hasn't gotten sleep. It loves to bother her in her room. She finally can like catch some shut eye, get a little cat nap in, and she's awake for 4 seconds.
Yeah.
Before she's terrorized again.
Yeah.
Like this poor girl is like, fuck. Like I literally am never gonna sleep again. Great.
Yeah.
This thing hates me.
This thing is constantly just tormenting her,
bothering her, getting to like trying to rile her up.
Yeah, constantly on edge. So, you know, the fucking title of this episode is going to be The Black Monk of Pontefract, so I'm sure everyone's going like, well, where the fuck's the monk, Dyson? You know,
where's the fucking monk?
Fair enough. Even I writing this was like, I should probably get to the fucking parts where the, you know, this bad boy starts showing up. And you know, it's it really is. It before was just kind of like a shadow, but now that it's reaching its boiling point, it's gonna start, you know,
taking shape in some way.
Yeah, taking
instead
shape.
Of just being like a weird, creepy Babadook shadow in the hallway.
Yeah,
or like hands. Okay, when you're talking about the hands, like I just picture that big white gloved hand that Mario has to fight, or whoever you are in Super Smash Bros.
Me too. Yeah.
Like it's so creepy.
Yeah.
So now it's gonna literally start being like a humanoid figure at least.
Yeah. So I'm gonna excluding like modern day paranormal investigations, okay, and like recounts after this like whole thing went down, like excluding that. There's really just like 2 instances that stand out, and the first occurrence would take place in Jean and Joe's bedroom, which like, well, shit. I mean, I'm pretty sure we're like all in agreement here that like a bedroom's like literally the last place you want it to make this fucking appearance.
For sure. A bedroom's supposed to be where you lay your head down, feel safe, and have a sanctuary. You don't want to see whatever the fuck Mr. Nobody is in there.
Yeah. But, you know, nonetheless, Jean and Joe were in bed one night when the door opened. Both looked across the room and saw a dim figure in the doorway.
Ew.
Jean recalls that the figure seemed to be very tall and had a hood over its head.
No thanks.
So, you know, they're just sitting there, like, in their bed and just, like, squinting at it, like,
in the open doorway or in front of their door?
It was, like, they just kind of say, like, across the room. It seemed like it was more in, like, the corner.
Yeah,
so, like, the door kind of opened up and it just kind of seemed to, like, I guess, kind of be in the room.
Oh, that's actually worse.
So they went to like switch like the light on, like their bedside light, and this thing just vanished.
Ew, I have like goosebumps everywhere.
Yeah.
Plus, I'm picturing that scene in Hereditary where she walks into the room and she thinks she sees like the outline and like silhouette of her mother. She's like trying to focus on it, and then she like turns the light on and it's kind of there but slowly fading away, and then she turns the light off and she's still there.
Yeah.
Like, ew, what? That's what I'm picturing. It's so creepy.
Yeah, because I mean, if you think about it, it's like put yourself in that shoe, in those like shoes or that bed, I guess.
Put yourself in that show.
Yeah.
The one shoe that's left after Maud threw it.
Like, there's no like sound,
Ew.
and you're just sitting there. Yeah, you're just sitting there in darkness, and you hear your door open.
You think
and
it's
you
one
still-
of your kids probably to be like, I think I saw something or heard something or whatever, and
Yeah.
instead it's not your child.
Yeah, and so you like look, you can kind of like see like just in the darkness that little thing, and it's just quiet, and then you flick the light on, like you're both staring at it,
Mm-hmm.
just not saying anything. You both know you're seeing it. Flick the light on, it's gone. Like, have fun sleeping now.
Yeah. For real.
Yeah.
You would be like, what the hell was that? You saw it too, right? And
Yeah.
the fact that it's so tall and it is so silent. And I'm a little bit shocked that it appeared first to them,
Mhm.
to in that bedroom, because it kind of seems like it doesn't really have anything to do with Joe. Like, it really doesn't bother him at all.
Mhm.
And you'd think it would go to the kids first.
Yeah.
So it's so weird. It's like literally the name of the game for Mr. Nobody is to just be as taunting and menacing as possible.
Yeah.
And he's like so ahead of you, one step ahead of you, that you can't even predict what he's gonna do. Like, as if you thought that was gonna happen.
Yeah, exactly.
It's terrifying how intelligent it is.
Yeah, so like speaking of not knowing his next move, oddly enough, the next person to encounter this like hooded figure was not one of the Pritchards at all.
It was Vic.
No, I feel like Vic would have been helpful.
He would have been like, oh my
Yeah.
god.
It was actually
Got it.
was actually a Miss May Mountain who
the
is
hell
their
May
she lives in the other side of the building. So that
Oh my
they're their
God,
neighbor
yeah.
of the like
the
attached
poor neighbor
building.
who's like, why is it so loud over there all the damn time?
Yeah. Yeah. Which like
Wait, she saw it? Ew, that's weird. Oh my god, ew. Residual
So
haunting,
yeah,
I'm
so
scared.
exactly. You thought like you think your neighbors are loud, like the shit that people were hearing from 30 East Drive could be heard from like walkers by.
Yeah,
So like goddamn, like she shares a wall with these people.
I would be so afraid. Oh my god, I'd be so afraid.
Yeah. So May one morning was standing mourning, which I hate.
Yeah, broad
Um,
daylight when you never expect spooky things to happen.
Yeah, so she was standing in front of the kitchen sink when she felt what she thought was her nephew, like trying to sneak up on her for like a scare.
Ew.
When she turned around, she saw a tall man in a black hooded robe and his face just obscured from view, just standing in her direction. Just
What?
huge dude in her room.
In her house?
Yeah, in the kitchen.
That's so fucked up.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say maybe like she was outside and could see it in the Pritchard's house, like through their window or something, or she was standing at the sink looking out the window and saw it. But the fact that it is creeping up behind her in her own house is horrifying.
Yeah, and from like this brazen appearance and the fact that like this time this like apparition seemed not so much a shadow but a full-bodied being.
Yeah.
It seems that Mr. Nobody's like power was growing much stronger.
Absolutely. It has been nonstop menace, nonstop draining fear out of this family. It's like, ew, it kind of reminds me of like Imhotep in The Mummy and how he has to like suck the life out of his victims in order to be like a man again.
Yeah.
Like, it's so creepy.
That's kind of like the feeling I'm getting as well. Cause like I've got a little note about the power here. Like throughout the haunting, both Philip and Diane were like progressively complaining about like this aching pain that they were feeling in their like sternum, like just above their stomach. Some like speculate that the like the question of whether Mr. Nobody would or would not hurt like the inhabitants of 30 East Drive was like much less whether he could and way more about like whether he wanted to. And one of the reasons it may be that he didn't want to hurt Philip or Diane could be because he's using them as like an energy source.
Oh,
Yeah.
100%.
So he's just like drawing energy directly from them.
Yeah.
And I, I guess like the emotional energy and stress that comes from like just absolutely tormenting them.
Mm-hmm. It's
Yeah.
said so many times when it comes to really bad hauntings is like you literally can't feed into it. You can't show that you're afraid. You can't show that you have any sort of fear because it loves it and literally uses it as like food.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
when it doesn't have enough chicken sandwiches to eat, then it needs the whole pain stored in your sternum.
Yeah.
That's so sad for those kids.
I know, isn't it awful?
They probably
So
also have anxiety, and they're like, it's the 60s or whatever.
yeah,
so
so
they're like, anxiety's in real.
this is pretty like classic poltergeist story, right? Like usually occurring during high emotional tensions when there's kids in the house, often going through like added stress of like puberty or at least around that time.
Mm-hmm.
And the tension like actually was there. In Philip's case, for example, like when remember there was that whole 2-year break, right? So in Philip's case, that tension was from his dad. Joe's a coal miner and a typical like man's man, right? Especially in the 1960s coal miner.
Yeah.
And apparently he was rather disappointed in Philip, who had like an affinity for reading and music over like conventional things like sports.
Oh, yeah. It's like,
Yeah,
I
so
wish you were like a blue collar man, not an intellectual.
yeah, like why is my son into all this like weak crap, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
like
You're a
reading and
sissy boy.
reading and music and the arts, like
Oh, that's
little
tough for
girl.
Philip.
Yeah. So
He probably
that's
also liked all those things because it was an escapism as well. He's like, we literally live in the worst fucking house. You're a dick dad, and I like these things because I can escape reality.
hmm And so that tension was there, right? Like, and it wasn't just like, like I'm sure Philip had his like thoughts about his dad at the point too, right? So that was the whole tension with Philip and his dad. Some also speculate that this is where like why that 2-year gap was there in the haunting, not picking up again until Diane herself turned 15. And whether that really explains the break, I'm not really sure. I mean,
I get the point you're making.
yeah, I
15's
mean,
a little late for like hardcore puberty, but
yeah, because I that's what I was thinking too, but I was kind of going like the way I thought about it was like, look, okay, like we all say like, okay, going through puberty, like you don't stop growing until you're like 21, right?
yeah, it's
Your
also just
your
the
brain's not
easy like
developed
thing
fully
to.
yet.
It's the easy thing to pinpoint because it's like everyone
Yeah.
goes through puberty, whether you want to or not, or
Yeah.
whatever the fuck, it's going to happen. It's a
Mhm.
high stress period, and it's so many different emotions, so it's easy to be like, well, the puberty, there's so much to draw on, but it could have been any sort of change. It could have been the move into the house was stressful. It could have been the family dynamic was stressful. Maybe like who knows, but maybe Jean was like going through menopause or something changing. Like literally there could have been so many weird fluctuating energy patterns.
Yeah, and remember, like Philip didn't go on vacation with the rest of the family. He was thinking like going on vacation to Devon with like my dad. No, thanks.
Yeah, he
I'll stay
kinda
at home
seemed-
on my own and relax. And
Yeah,
it
he was
was
like, I just want to be with grandma.
yeah, and it was at that time, like right as they did that, right around the time that like supposedly they
And he was
moved,
15 at that
and he
time.
was 15. So that happened, and then Diane gets like to the age of 15, and they start redoing their room because she's like maturing now, and that's when
Mhm.
it happens again. So there's something there where I guess like when the mind starts changing or the body starts changing like that, and whatever kind of stress or tension that may like unconsciously or consciously bring
Yeah.
seems to bring on this like activity.
Mhm.
So
More energy for the thing to feed on.
yes, so it seems to be feeding off these kids' energy, and
Those
you
poor
know
kids.
it's just that's kind of why it stands to reason that these kids are also the like target of these antics meant to scare them. No real harm befell Philip and Diane. That is until like one fateful day.
I was like, yeah, nothing but emotional harm so far. Also, she got literally burned by a cross, but okay.
Yeah, I guess it was like I don't know. She always goes like it didn't hurt, which like I don't.
She's probably just being brave,
Yeah, and it's a good point. Like a lot of people say like, well, it didn't really hurt her until like this day. Like that cross probably did. Like
She was terrified, and
Yeah.
also you can literally still go through emotional turmoil. It's still pain.
Yeah.
She can't sleep. Like,
So-
there's a problem.
So then I guess like, okay, here comes like a lot of pain.
Oh,
because one evening when the light had faded, but you know, you could still like see, like it was just the sun was just going down at this point. Diane was going downstairs to make herself a cup of coffee, which hell yeah.
She's like, they're at UK, everyone drinks tea. She's like, fuck that, I like coffee.
Yeah, exactly. Good. Drink your coffees. They're good for you. And that's when, you guessed it,
I guessed it.
the lights went out.
Oh, I was gonna say either the lights went out or there was a creepy cold breeze. Because that seems to be the starter, is like a cold breeze and then the lights go out.
The chill definitely did also come through. So, you know,
She's like, fuck, I just want coffee.
yeah. So Jean actually just starts hearing her daughter screaming. So she runs into the hallway to see Diane being dragged up the staircase. She could clearly see what was a stretched out cardigan in front of her.
Oh my god, like an invisible hand was grabbing the front of her shirt.
Yeah, and
Oh my
just
God.
pulling her up. And then the entity's other hand was apparently around Diane's throat.
It was
just
this thing's
choking her.
giant hands just manhandling her.
Yeah. So both Philip, who like arrived on the scene, and Jean rushed to Diane to try and get her free from its grasp. And fortunately, this thing did end up letting go. But it also caused them all to kind of like fall back down the flight of stairs as like a group, I guess.
Yeah.
So when like none of them really seemed to get hurt from like the fall. So Diane got up, but she was just completely shaken. And around
I would have shat my pants. Like there would have been
Yeah.
a shit smear up those stairs.
Yeah. So when she did stand up, everyone could see what were clear impressions of fingerprints around her throat.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's violent.
So for the family, like that was it. They were like, "You're done. You're done,
You're done.
Mr. Nobody. We're calling it."
We can handle the lights, the cold breezes, weird water, you breaking our plants, but you literally grab my daughter by the throat.
Yeah. So in what I could only assume is like an absolute like act of desperation, Joe decided to try out a suggestion like one of his friends made. And he told him to use like garlic because it's not always for vampires.
I would have been like, stop fucking with me.
Yeah, but what? Like I've never heard that in my life.
No, I would have thought this guy was being a douche.
Yeah, and like it seems fucking ridiculous, and I have to apologize for like the anticlimactic resolution here, because they claim that hanging cloves of garlic throughout the house actually worked.
No, it didn't.
Yeah, well, they claim it. Yeah,
What? Is that for real? Are you that serious? It
That's what
actually
they-
they
that's what
hung
they
up
said.
garlic around the house and it worked.
that's what they said.
Oh my god. I would have thought that guy was fucking with them for sure.
Yeah, you'd think, right?
I can't even believe this guy was like Joe was at work talking about it. You'd think he would have been too proud.
I guess like when you're down in the like dark, dank hole your whole fucking day, you get to talking a little bit, right?
Puts things into
Get
perspective.
to know your mates a little better.
Wow, that's shocking.
Yeah, so the family, you know, just carried on with their merry little life there.
Seriously.
Yeah. So, Joe passed away June 21st, 1986 from a fatal heart attack. The coroner would confirm fatal heart attack on the second floor of the bathroom in 30 East Drive.
Oh, he passed away in the house.
Yeah.
Also, that was like today that we were recording. So it was the anniversary of his death. Rest in peace.
Oh my God, you're right. Jesus, I didn't even notice that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, that's creepy.
Very.
So Diane and Philip, you know, would grow up, of course, and Jean would remain in the home, living on her own along with her pet parrot.
Oh, that sounds creepy to have a parrot because it could be like saying creepy shit.
Yeah,
But
like what are you doing? What are you doing?
she's a bird lady. Maybe it was less maintenance, but she stayed in that house though. For real? Lived in
Yeah.
that house where
Yep.
all this horrible shit went down?
She lived in that house, and years passed, and in 2008, Jean started thinking, you know, it's about time she like move out.
Mhm.
She was speaking to her neighbor, you know, the one that's like attached,
Not Miss May Mountain, I assume. It's
No,
probably a
it's
new neighbor.
no, it's a new neighbor now. So this is the 79 is the number, right? This is a Carol Fieldhouse, and so she's talking to her, and they're kind of having a conversation, right? And this conversation would offer a bit of a glimpse into how Jean was like living on her own. When Carol mentioned, well, you should probably let people know that like the place used to be haunted before you sell it and go to your retirement home.
Very haunted.
Yeah. To which Jean replied that the hauntings never really went away.
Oh.
Yeah.
Living alone in that house and there was still shit happening?
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's fucking terrifying.
In fact, they were actually getting really bad again.
Oh my.
Yeah. To the point where Jean was now living in the kitchen with locks installed on the living room to try and keep some distance from Fred.
Are you serious? You called him Fred.
Yeah, sorry, I called him Fred.
Nobody. But that's scary. She literally is holed up in the kitchen, locking out Mr. Nobody, who's at this point now just has free range over her place.
Mm-hmm.
That's so scary.
And it's terrifying just on your own with this fucking parrot, right? To try and keep company. And like, I kind of imagine that she had that so that she could just like subconsciously blame the voices on the parrot.
Oh.
Yeah.
Or like if she wanted to try and feel brave enough to get some sleep, the parrot could like wake her up maybe, but I guess a dog could bark, could do that. But
Yeah.
still, that's like a very deep look into that.
Yeah. And it seems like
I could hear the voices again. It's okay. It's just my parrot.
yeah, and it seems
Mr. Nobody's coming.
It seems like they kind of like lied about the garlic. And it seems like they just wanted to be like at this point like
also it kind
left
of seems
alone because the investigators keep like showing up. These reporters want to like ask questions. They were starting to
camp out on their front lawn.
Yeah,
like,
they were camping out on the front lawn.
I want to hear something happening.
Yeah.
And also it was Joe's idea to put the garlic up, and maybe they kind of just wanted to placate him because he really kind of seems like distant from all of this.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like maybe they were like, okay, yeah, put the garlic up, Joe. Great idea.
Well, look, I guess like I should bring this up now. So I had a note to try and fit this in wherever I thought was appropriate. I think this will fit well here. In Wilson's book, which is the kind of Bible to this whole case, it was the first book written about this place, and it wasn't all written about this place. It was actually a bit of an exploration on poltergeist phenomena in general, but its covering of this case in particular became like gospel. He got the idea to like kind of cover it as like he had a friend who was like a local researcher, I guess. I don't know if they were friends, but contacted him. And this researcher was looking into Cluniac monks in the area and said, like, take a look. And he did, and he started writing about it. And he did a bunch of interviews with people, and it kind of blew the whole story up.
Yeah,
it made everybody
after the fact.
Yeah, everyone started everybody like took note of this. It made it very popular in the UK, but also kind of like globally, I think. And so he's writing this book, and there's this section that is not present in about Joe in Wilson's book, but it is in Bill Bengay's book.
Right.
And I kind of looked at this and went like, well, why? And I was reading about this and getting other people's thoughts online about this kind of stuff. They were saying, like, it makes sense. So let me tell you the story about what happened to Joe.
Okay.
Remember how I mentioned that Jean was incredibly uncomfortable whenever she was around the Cole house?
Oh, yeah, the creepy little room under the stairs, basically.
Yeah, that would have no windows, seemed to be made of like all brick. It had a little wooden door, really. And it was used to store coal to heat the house. So this tension between Joe and Philip was ever present.
Yeah.
And as he was walking past, like down the hall, he sees an orange glint in the coal.
Mhm.
So he goes to look and pulls out his coal miner jacket, which had the highlighter orange on the back.
Ah.
And immediately he assumes that this was Philip. And this was a statement from Philip that
Mm.
he would not fall in line to his dad's expectations of being this tough guy man
Mhm.
and be who he wanted him to be. He was going to be himself. So Joe was fucking pissed.
Uh-oh.
So he's ready to bolt out of the coal house and give Philip an earful with his jacket in hand. And as he does, the door slams shut. Pitch black,
Locking him in the cold room.
locked in the cold room.
Oh my god.
And this is where this ghost is said to fucking snarl.
Ew.
Yeah, like a growling sound. And some in the second book, the one that followed Wilson's, this snarling,
Mhm.
they say, when you hear that, fucking run.
Oh my god.
Because it's not fucking with you anymore. It's
Mhm.
gonna fuck you up.
Oh
And it did fuck Joe up.
my god.
He couldn't get through the door despite having no locks. There's no lights whatsoever. It's pitch blackness in here and something snarling at him from the inside.
No.
And it clobbered him.
Wow.
It just beat the living shit out of him. And when he finally did get out of the coal house,
Mhm.
they say he was just an absolutely broken man after that.
Oh my god. He's like a shell of himself.
Yeah. Like his like confidence, his like just demeanor just all fell away.
Ew, that is horrifying.
Yeah.
Especially when I think about throughout your story, you've never said that this thing really growls. Like there was like maybe some voices. It would
Mhm.
kind of talk or mimic or echo voices,
Mhm.
but it was never growling.
Yep.
So that's horrifying because whereas it's usually like I said, mimicking, that seems to be its own. The snarling, growling kind of seems to be its own.
Yeah, its own.
And
And-
that's so scary.
And it makes sense too that like they say that the snarling almost always now comes, like this growling almost always comes from the coal house, which
Ew.
is this origin of this tension now. It's become like this almost like symbol of this tension between Philip and Joe.
It's so interesting too because no way Philip put it in there. It's like it lured him in there by putting it inside of the coal room.
Yeah.
Lured him in there to
It brought him in.
literally punish him. And it's like you've mentioned a few times in this tension that was always present between father and son. And it's like so creepy because there's no way Mr. Nobody was like, I'm going to punish you for like being a dick to your son. It's more like you don't get to lay hands on your son because I need him to basically feed me. Like I'm
Yes.
using your son as an energy source for myself. So you back away.
Yeah.
That's my property. I have claims on that guy. I don't care. It's your son.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
It like
he
got
literally-
territorial.
Yeah, territorial.
Yeah.
Marked his territory. And is like, I'm going to beat you up so bad that you are a broken man.
Mm-hmm.
And that is like even makes it even more creepy that there was very few, only like those two sightings of it being a humanoid figure, and the first one being it entering Joe's room.
Yeah.
And like standing in the corner kind of like, still here, Joe.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god, that's so fucking creepy.
Yeah. It's like it sends a message. And it's just so now let's put it into perspective as to why it wasn't in the original story.
Oh yeah, that was my first thing, is because you said Wilson's book was first,
Mm-hmm.
and that was before the 80s when Joe died.
This was before Joe died that this
Okay.
book was put out. So it seems almost as though it would have been a request not to include this.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been like, or at least a very least a discretionary choice not to include this story, or even Joe like not giving it up to the interviewer at the time, because you can imagine like Joe's
bet
like a tough
Yeah.
tough guy, call a spade type of man. He's a coal miner too,
Mhm.
right, in the 60s. So you can imagine the embarrassment and shame he would feel
Yeah.
for a story being out there that this tough coal miner man of this town got beat up by a ghost in his own coal house.
Yeah, to the point that it like broke him.
Yeah, and broke him.
I
Like
bet that
absolutely
it
broke him.
wasn't. I bet that was known amongst the family because it's probably hard to hide that you just got the shit kicked out of
Yes,
you in
yeah.
your house. But yeah, I bet it wasn't told to Wilson for the book. I bet it was very much a hush hush thing.
Yeah. But this, like, once he passed away, the story could be told, and it
Mm-hmm.
found its way into the follow-up book that gave a little more context. In fact, this book is the reason we know about the Farrar family.
Oh yeah, the first
Yeah.
family. That makes sense too because people researching this case and who really care about it and are going to write that follow-up book like Bill did, he's probably going to say what I've been saying, which is like, interesting. Joe seems kind of distant to this. Like, did nothing happen to him?
Mm-hmm.
And then you probably have like the family exchanging looks like, well, we don't talk about this, but you know, since dad's, you know, gone now, maybe we can mention it.
Yeah.
And that's probably what happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
That's
So
fucked up though.
yeah. So I thank you for bringing that up so I can include that in the story because I didn't want people thinking like, well, Joe's never in this and like what does that say about Joe? Like
he's there. He just kind of seems to be very much a supporting character.
yeah, Joe kind of goes through it
He's
in a
doing-
whole different
yeah.
way, like in a really like tragic way, honestly.
Well, yeah.
It's hard to hear like that he came out like an absolutely broken man and was like just covered in bruises and just absolutely clobbered.
I wonder
Like
if he-
that's to me like the story revolves around Diane giving this story the most the credit of the most violent haunting.
Mhm.
But to me like the like physical most violent haunting was Joe getting his ass handed to him in a coal house.
Yeah.
Like he comes out just absolutely beaten.
Mhm.
So anyway, back to the story at hand. So Jean just has this conversation with Carol and is like, you know,
Mhm.
it's actually kind of starting up again.
Yeah, everything really stopped, and it's actually getting worse now.
Yeah, you never want to hear that either. And like, this is your neighbor too. She's
she's
like,
an old
she's like, you
lady at
should have
this
told me
point.
this. Like,
Yeah.
this affects all of us. Like, we're what? You think this thing respects a thin drywall? Like, no, it's probably not drywall, but you know,
girl, you're literally living in your kitchen right now. Something's wrong. Do your kids know?
yeah. So, you know, what can you do though, right? So, like after this conversation, Carol and Jean inevitably just go back to their houses, right?
Oh God.
So Carol would really only like occasionally see Jean here and there. Mostly, she didn't see her at all, really. Although she knew like she was okay since she could hear her watching TV most nights, talking with the parrot, what have you. And one day, Carol sees Philip outside walking up the steps of the house.
Philip's like walking up like Ben Affleck, like,
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to go in there. I'm so scared.
I believe it because like he pretty much returned like avoided returning to this house just as at any point he could. He would not come to this house unless he had to.
Yeah.
So, you know, Carol asks, you know, like, how are you doing? How's your mother doing? Like, she hasn't been coming out too much lately. Haven't really had a chance to talk to her. Like, can hear her moving around in there, you know, watching TV with the bird. To which, like, Philip's face goes just absolutely white.
Oh no.
And he says, Carol, my mother moved out months ago.
No fucking way.
Yeah.
No way. That is so creepy. Ew.
Yeah.
So she's listening to ghostly Mr. Nobody moving around.
Not only that, she said that she could hear the parrot.
It was mimicking.
And the parrot was given to a bird sanctuary
Oh my God.
when Jean moved into a retirement home.
I assumed
So-
the bird wasn't living there alone. Yes.
Yeah. So this thing was in fact mimicking the sounds of the house as though it was being lived in.
That's so fucked up.
Yeah.
That's horrifying.
Yeah.
And I bet Carol then went whiter than Philip upon hearing that.
Yeah.
She was probably like, I'm literally sharing a wall with what then?
And I also want to point something out that I didn't point out to you yet. Carol's I have my doubts. Carol's apparently a psychic, or she said she's a psychic.
Oh,
So all I wanted to say as I was reading this story was like, didn't see that coming, did you?
that's a tough one too. People think that, of course, like, oh, a psychic means you know everything and can see the future, but there's all kinds of psychics.
But yeah, and I agree with you. Like I totally like do not. I never find that like joke about like, oh, you're psychic, and then they like slap them or something. Say like, how come you didn't see that coming? It doesn't fucking work that way.
It's ignorant.
But here's the thing. A psychic in my mind has that connection, right? Has that like sensitivity to paranormal or like an out of world type of like bind. And I don't know. The fact that she was fooled by it is ironic to me.
Ironic, yeah, or it just goes to show that this thing is an ancient power that is bigger than Carol the Psychic.
Yeah, also true. So I don't know. I just wanted to point that out there. You know, think of it as you will.
Carol's listening, like, fuck you guys.
You know what, Carol?
Also,
If you're actually psychic and you're hearing this,
and not
yeah,
every
fuck me at that
not
point.
every psychic is tethered to the other side. That's maybe more like clairvoyant.
Oh, okay, maybe.
So, like I said, there's tons of different kinds of psychic, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe Carol's more of just like a, this is a good vibe.
Well,
This is a bad vibe.
maybe.
Also,
She does say she can talk to it.
Okay, well then, you know what? Let's not to go down this road.
Yeah. So you may be thinking now, like, well, then what happened to the house?
Well, yeah. So we
this-
know that Jean wasn't living there for months, and
Is this thing loose?
yeah, in fact, the Black Monk,
Yeah.
in air quotes, has been living in there. Jean went to a shelter, so yeah, it's kind of like, obviously that means that it wasn't up for sale then, like what Jean said she was gonna do. It was just sitting there. So wait, why was Philip going there then? To clear it
Well,
out?
Here, let me
Yeah,
clear
what
it up.
happened to this house?
So
Okay, sorry.
coincidentally,
I
Bill
just had
Bungay,
900 questions.
yeah, Bill Bungay, the film producer and co-author to the book that I mentioned, the second one called The Black Monk of Pontefract, the world's most violent and relentless poltergeist.
Mhm.
So remember I said he was kind of expanding on that first book.
Yeah, Wilson kind of laid the ground.
He did a chapter.
He laid the groundwork for it.
Yeah.
He at least was responsible for it getting out into the ether.
Mhm.
But then Bill came in and
did
really
a whole book.
put the meat on it.
Yeah, he did a whole book. The
Right.
other one was a chapter. So Bill was actually, he hadn't written this book yet, and he was working on a movie around this time that would bring the lives and torments of the Pritchard family to the big screen.
Okay.
And you know, from what I've seen and heard, I haven't watched it, but it is a B movie, and
Nothing wrong with that.
it's got its ups and downs, but it's like everybody says it's a pretty fun watch.
Mhm.
and
I want
it's-
to watch it.
It's got like apparently like people were saying like I was quite tense throughout the movie. Like B movies usually don't scare me all that much, but this one like kind of got me. So it was after the movie like wrapped up filming, and remember Bill's the producer, so he figured, you know, I've got some time. Maybe I'll pop by and see if they'll let me like walk around and have a look.
Because they didn't film in this house, right?
They filmed in another place. He thought actually that this place was still occupied by the residents.
Oh.
And
not very
sure
good
enough-
field work there, Bill.
yeah, I know that one. That one I was like, what? How did he not know? So I guess it must have been too recent, but still no, field work was not done right. Anyway, he pulled up to the house and he just saw the big for sale sign in the yard. And it had sat for sale for 4 years. So
When
Philip was
when was
probably
the
coming
movie?
2012.
Yeah, that makes sense then. You said 2008, Jean, when it was talking about going into a home.
Yep. So Philip was probably checking on the house because it was like they still have it. They still have to sell it.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah,
And I guess
yeah.
she wasn't really like hard up for cash. Like it wasn't like I need to sell in order to be able to be at the retirement home. Like
She
it
probably
was
had
more
pension-
along the lines of
her
like,
husband was a coal miner. He was in the war. They probably had pensions. She's probably
yeah.
like
yeah.
fine.
So anyway, yeah. So like that's what was happening with the house. It was just being
Literally
empty.
sat there, which is like Bill was probably like,
he was
I
he
could have literally filmed here.
he immediately was like, God damn it. Like I could have filmed in the actual house. But then he saw the for sale sign and like let me just put it this way.
Hi, the bank.
Bill, yes, Bill was, you know, he loved telling stories, and he loved being a producer, right? He's a producer, though. He didn't like write the story of the movie or anything like that.
Oh, I
So
see.
he was a skeptic. Like, he saw this, and right
Oh.
away he saw and I don't blame him. He saw a tremendous marketing opportunity.
Well, yeah, at the
Like,
end of the day, Bill's a businessman.
yeah, this was a great business opportunity. So he immediately scooped this house up.
Wow.
Yeah, because his idea was to have the premiere of When the Lights Go Out.
That's what the movie's called?
When the Lights Go Out, or When the Lights Went Out. I'm pretty sure it goes out. Anyway, his idea was that he would premiere this movie in the living room
Wow.
of 30 East Drive.
Where the heart of the haunting is.
Yeah.
But Carol didn't see that coming. Sorry, Carol. I'm sorry, Carol. Low
So,
blow.
yeah. And so he goes like, okay, fucking sold. And they do. They hold the premiere in the living room. And by all accounts, the premiere did not result in any paranormal activity.
Well, yeah, because Mr. Nobody was like probably there, like, no way. Am I on TV right now? And he's sitting there eating his old chicken
Oh my God.
sandwiches.
Yeah, he probably was just loving it. You're right. Because
This
like
guy-
I just had here like, oh, he just didn't show up because he never does when he's wanted. But
Oh,
like,
that's
you're right. He's
true.
probably egotistical and fucking
Of
loved
course he
it.
is. Look what he did to Maud, who literally questioned if he was real or not.
Yeah.
Are you kidding? That guy sat right front row and watched himself on the screen and ate old, crusty crouton chicken sandwiches that he had stolen from Gene 40 years earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And was silent only because Buddy was busy watching
Yeah.
himself.
Yeah. So nothing happened during the premiere, but during his time in the house, Bill, and he was not living here, just by the way, like, he's not fucking sleeping in here.
Mm-mm.
This was like just kind of like a house he had, and he was like, this is so cool. And like, you know, how can I make money off of this, basically? And he was like,
He's a businessman.
he's a businessman, right? He just saw it and he's like, people love this house. I'll keep it. I'll keep it like up and proper, and that way it doesn't get torn down or anything. And, you know, the next thing that happened though was like, he started like encountering like various forms of paranormal activity.
Oh, no
Of
way.
course, he started hearing unexplained noises. He started witnessing objects moving on their own, and felt like sudden drops in temperature that like defied logical explanation.
The cold chill.
Yeah. The experiences, coupled with like accounts of others who had also spent time in the house, gradually like eroded his like initial disbelief. And, you know, as Bill spent like more time at 30 East Drive, his like skepticism turned into a reluctance, like acceptance of the supernatural. He had seen so much that like having that consistent, convincing evidence of paranormal activity and phenomena, he just couldn't deny it anymore.
Yeah, he's like, I can't tell you if this is Mr. Nobody, but I can definitely agree with people. This house is freaky.
Yeah. So, like I said, he will not stay in this house. He thinks you're absolutely insane if you actually do want to sleep in this house. But he does allow for you to book a night at the house.
Oh, wow.
And you can conduct like a paranormal investigation of your own.
Oh, yeah. That makes
Yeah.
sense. Just think about how many paranormal research teams there are. They're probably
Yeah.
like, we'll book it out. Oh my God. Do you think people sleep in the creepy cold room? No way, right?
I don't know. I haven't heard of anyone doing it, but all I can think of, if you did, you're ballsy. Like, I love it when people are like investigating and they got the balls to do things like that, but you're just something else. This is like no windows.
Mm-mm.
The story, the most violent part of this house, violent, like physically violent,
Yep.
comes from there. There's fucking growling.
Ew.
You-
Ew. Okay, maybe you would just set up like an EVP and a
Oh,
recorder or something.
that would be the first place I'd deck out.
And yeah, it's like, okay, fine. We'll put all our best equipment in there because we'll probably get something. But yeah, no thank you to sleeping there.
Yeah. And so like there actually is also a website if you'd like to check it out for this house. Obviously, you know, I mean, he believes now, but he's still a businessman.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
he, you know, he believed it enough that he delved into this like story so deeply that he ended up like interviewing like people who have been researching this case. He ended up expanding on the story as much as he could and writing this book, right? With E-Step. so he co-authored it, and you know, he's in it, right? So his website, though, where you can like book a day to stay there or however long, I guess, actually also chronicles the guest experiences.
Interesting.
And so you can also like let them know what happened. They'll add it to the website and you can go read that. But they also give a little link to like the photo or video evidence
Oh,
that that
wow.
person is mentioning. And some of them are like pretty fucking creepy. Like some of them are adorable though. Like it wholly fits with like a poltergeist. Like no shade on the person that brought their dog.
Oh, wow.
But they brought their dog and they like poured a saucer of water, I guess, for their dog to drink, and like the dog emptied it, like drank it, and then like they came back afterwards and it was filled again.
Oh my god, this thing is like getting water
Um,
to the dogs.
Yeah, or like there's a story about how like they look to their kid and they're like, "Where did you get that fake orange?" And like this like little child.
Why did you bring your little child?
Yeah,
Freak.
I don't know. So a little child there.
Are you telling me we're at this is the site of the most violent poltergeist? Great, bring little Jimmy.
Well, I guess the ghost was kind of like having fun at this though, because like they're like, "Don't bite that. That's a fake orange. How'd you even get that?" And she's like, the dark man gave it to me.
Ew.
And everyone was like, "What?"
The big,
And so
creepy, giantly tall man.
Yeah. And there's also photos of like captured photos of this like monk of Pontefract or whatever you want to call him.
Yeah.
And of course, Bill has also experienced a number of odd activities himself, and it actually kind of surrounds like electronics and stuff, and we'll kind of elaborate on that for ourselves in a moment. But yeah, he says that on the night of the premiere, when he took a photo with his like, I guess it was like an Apple phone, he had like a 70% charge on his phone, and he went to go take a picture with the crew in the house. And as he did it, his phone immediately drained to zero and died. And then when he, you know, got the chance to finally plug his phone back in, he couldn't find that photo anywhere. It just was completely gone. He checked out like completely through the gallery.
Yeah, you know if you took a photo or not.
Yeah. 2 weeks later, that blurry photo of them would just miraculously reappear in his phone.
That's so weird.
Upsetting. But like, you know, like kind of mild.
Was there anything in the photo that was creepy?
It was just, it would not be in focus. And that's a recurring thing for people in the house. Like they'll take like photos that they swear were like fine and like it'll come out like blurry and shit. And like to me though, like that's not
paranormal evidence.
Yeah, that's just like they took a blurry photo, but they had like overconfidence in their ability. Like, you know, like sometimes you take a photo and it feels really good. And then you look at it and you're like, that was actually not a great photo. And that's fine. Okay. And then Apple phones having shit batteries is just canon to me. But
yeah,
like,
it's true.
Yeah. But then like you start looking at the accounts on the website and there's people who have like EVPs or something hooked up or sensors and one account saying it immediately got drained to dead. And as they were recording, they said, "That's pretty damn good. If you're that strong, bring it back to life."
Oh.
And the fucking thing did.
I've never heard that before.
So it's playing with energy. And then there's another account of a guy who went through 50 AA batteries in a night.
That's crazy. First of all, whoa, bro, you brought 50. That's wild. But
yeah, that man was prepared, but that man probably read the stories.
Duh. Of course he did.
Yeah.
That's so crazy. Like, sure, sometimes you can, like, if I go to Brantford Surplus here in town, which is like a surplus store, it's ghetto as shit.
Mm-hmm.
They have like off-brand batteries, so they don't last that long. But I mean, I'm not going through 50 in a night. That's crazy.
That's absolutely insane.
And these people take their jobs seriously. You know, they're out there with like legit like Duracells.
Yeah.
They're not bringing no-name batteries.
No. Yeah. And so it's wild. And so I guess like shame on us. Well, shame on me.
Shame on me.
Because I thought these were all really funny, but not really worth much.
Yeah, like you're telling me like everything you've just said about what people experience in the house is off the top of your head. You're not reading from your notes right now.
No. And these are really like kind of just things that I'd be like, those are odd, not spooky.
Right, gotcha.
But
now you think it's spooky though.
now I think it's fucking spooky
Mhm.
because this is the second time that we're actually recording this episode.
Yes, it is.
The first time in probably over 100 episodes
In total, yeah.
where we had to re-record.
We've never had to re-record. We've never had a time where and it's like, because we were recording, we sat here, we did this whole episode, then you look at your computer and you're like, what the fuck?
Only half of it was here.
And not only was it only half that actually got recorded, somehow it was like spliced into these weird sections and separated in an increment of 12 hours.
Yeah. So we had
Never ever happened before. You are the producer of the show, you know Studio One so well. You've never not been on your game like that. So like, and it doesn't make sense because I watched you go into your Studio One and you have a habit of just checking and you don't even realize and saving.
Yep.
And I watched you do that. I've seen the red button. I know it's recording. And we finish, hit end. Yes, we did the episode. You look at Studio One and you're like, what am I looking at?
Yeah. What had
Whole
happened was
chunk of time
had
gone.
Had a music break, so we pause it. We like mark off where we'll put the music, and we continue about 15 seconds later. The recording, when we looked at it, the music break started, and then it jumps to 12 hours later,
Mm-hmm.
and not like on the dot 12 hours. If it was on the dot 12 hours, I'd be like, okay, makes sense.
Yep.
Something
Mm-hmm.
auto skipped to the exact 12-hour mark.
No, it was like 12
This
hours,
thing-
12 minutes or something
This
weird.
thing was not on any fucking like scale that the timeline will put out for you. It's in an absolutely random mark,
Yeah.
and it has its own like random fucking little tag at the top as well.
Mm-hmm.
None of it made sense, to the point where I kept looking at it going, this, like, why is it way over here? And the other thing too is like, I could have sworn that going between my notes and it recording, that I saw it recording. So
Mm-hmm.
whatever had happened, it just had never happened to us before.
No, it was
And it was
dumbfounding.
as we were like covering this story and talking about this kind of stuff, and I realized, like, you know, I really didn't give any credence to this whatsoever.
Mhm.
But you know what? Like, shame on me, because then it happened to us just talking about this shit.
Yeah.
So, hey, hopefully this one makes it into the episode and we don't have to do it a third time. But that's the story of the Black Monk of Pontefract.
You did amazing.
Thank you.
That was a really spooky tale. The first time around, I definitely was a lot more vocal because I was genuinely terrified. I think I said, like, I'm so scared, like, a million times. I had constant full body goosebumps. I remember at one point I even went, why do I have goosebumps on my face? That's never happened, because I was so scared.
I could tell. I was like actually getting you. You were like a little jumpy.
It was really creepy. And so, like, you know, now it's the second time recording, so I saw a lot of it coming, but I tried to pretend I didn't. You did amazing. This is a story that was on my list, but I had never researched it, and I only had basically copy pasted it into a list because of when I did the Herman family, which was Popper the Poltergeist.
Mhm.
I had just come across a list that was like, here's a list of 10 scary poltergeists. And I
Yeah.
had just copied the list.
Yeah.
So then when you said you were doing it, I was like, why does that sound familiar? So I was going through my episode ideas spreadsheet. I was
Mhm.
like, oh, it is on here. Excellent. Delete. And you did so well, way better than I would have ever done. I loved it. I love being able to sit back and hear a spooky tale.
Mhm.
Hopefully everyone else loves it. Plus they get back-to-back scary stories because they also would have got Kuchisaki Onna.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. And I was worried that I had to double check to make sure we didn't already cover this one, or you know, what have you, because I was like, it sounds so familiar, and like the Fred thing and the Mr. Nobody stuff, but it was really I was really pleasantly surprised that this one's often wholly overshadowed by the Enfield
Mhm.
haunting, which happens in the UK, I think in the 70s.
I think so, yeah.
So
Yeah,
that like
70s.
completely overshadowed it, and kind of made this one a bit of a lost case, and then it got a resurgence later on. But, I think most people are really just familiar with Enfield. And
That's because of Ed and Lorraine Warren.
yeah, and like, fair
and
enough.
The media circus, yeah.
Yeah. So, it was fun diving into this one because it's something that, like, there was enough research in there that you could really sink your teeth into it.
Like into a cold chicken sandwich.
Yeah. But you still have that fun of like telling a lot of people about something they've never heard of before. So yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Mm.
You did really good. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah. So thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Yeah, hopefully it wasn't too obvious when you can see that we've re-recorded throughout it.
I hope
People
not.
are listening to it and they're like, oh yeah, there it was.
We tried our best not to spoil it for you and do our best recording again.
Yeah. So thank you. Thank you for tuning in. I don't remember what's next for you, but just fucking come back and check it out.
All right. Bye-bye.
Yeah.